Aloha and good morning, everyone. It is Monday, March 9, 2026, and the time is 9:03 a.m. Will the Committee on Budget please come to order? I'd like to welcome to the Chamber committee members who are present with us today. Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, Council Members Cordero, Kia Aina, Talba, and Council Chair Waters. Also joining us today, we'd like to welcome Council Members Dos Santos Tam and Tupola. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways: in person in the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony via video conference or telephone. When I call your name, please monitor your screen and follow the prompt to unmute. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 if you wish to testify, and I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you're also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on your screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Members, as a reminder, if you have any supplementary questions for the departments that may come up during or after the meeting, please provide them to my office so we may compile them for the department or Managing Director's office to respond. We look forward to all of your questions. Also, members, I plan to take a break for lunch. Councilmember Kia Aina asked that question. The start time and duration will be dependent on the flow of the meeting. Agenda item number 1, informational briefing, administrative overview. We'll proceed first with testimony. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Seeing no testimony, we will now proceed with the administrative review. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 164-2026. With us from the administration, we have, I believe, Mayor Rick Blangiardi, Office of the Mayor, as well as Director Andy Kawano from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. Aloha and good morning, Mayor Blangiardi.
Good morning, Chair Okamoto, council members, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of kick off our budget discussion. And I just want to say firsthand, since Andy Kawano and Carrie Castle sit behind me, I want to thank them for their leadership and our BFS team, because we began, as I said in the press release last week, we began looking at 27 before the ink was even dry on our last budget, understanding full well that we had been on a ride, if you will, with federal dollars, nearly $900 billion over the prior 4 years, increasing spending, understanding the fiscal cliff that we were coming off of. And then on top of that, the cost of living for our residents out here and the impact that it's having, not just on out-migration, that's the ultimate manifestation, but the anguish that people are living with day in and day out trying to make ends meet, knowing full well, even when there's 3 jobs in a family, the math still doesn't work. And we wanted to stay sensitive as a leadership team to that reality. And so quite honestly, I went into the budget this year with Managing Director Formby, challenging our team at BFS and all of our cabinet members to see if it was possible to keep our focus on the priorities that we've been working on now for 5 years, and at the same time be able to do more with less money. Could we possibly do that, understanding now full well the color of money and the flow of money in the city? And what could we possibly do? I asked Andy to come up with a target of $200 million in cuts. The fact that they came up with 133.6 is remarkable, knowing full well our operating budget's up $38 million, but knowing full well that just alone, given all the other fixed costs in the city, that our collective bargaining agreements were going to increase us by nearly $55 million this year. That is no small feat to be able to do that. So you will hear me talk next week at the State of the City about the nexus between government efficiency, and the cost of living and how that impacts the nexus of our residents. So I'm really proud of this. This may be our best budget to date. And I would say that in anticipation with your cooperation, as we all are in this together going forward, that this will also be our most productive year to date in our operating as a team. Over the course of the last 5 years, the team we've put together, I'm most confident in it. And look, and I understand City Council and our administration doesn't always have to agree on it, but you've been great partners all the way at coming to understandings. And I hope that you'll stay open-minded here as you look at this approach, which has been different than what we've done the last 4 years, what we're trying to achieve, and what it means to the greater public out there. So I thank you for your dedicated service. I look forward to the discussions that'll take place. Personally, I'm always available to talk with any and each of you on anything we're doing. I'm proud of this work. It's focused on the right priorities, and our promise to the public is we will do more with less. Thank you for this opportunity. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor. Members, any questions for the mayor? No?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Blangiardi. Director Kawano, good morning.
Good morning, Budget Chair Okimoto, Council Chair Waters, Honorable Council Members, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. Yeah, as the Mayor said that, we're in really challenging times right now. As we go through the numbers, you'll see that our top line, our real property tax revenue, which is the main source of funding for our programs, is going to be flat for a few years at least. UHERO's latest economic update, while moving from a call towards a mild recession to very modest growth, indicates that we're probably going to be in slow growth mode for at least a few years. So we're going to have to deal with that. Fortunately, as the Mayor mentioned, we've had the benefit of receiving federal dollars to recover from COVID, and we've spent the money wisely and have built the balance sheet. So if you go to the ACFR from fiscal years 23, 24, and then to 25, which is the last audited posted annual comprehensive financial report, you'll see that our unreserved fund balance has increased for the general fund, and it's currently at about $630 million. So with that, we have the ability to leverage the balance sheet of the general fund going forward, meaning that we have unreserved fund balance that can be carried forward to help fund operations. But you only can do that for so long. And we have to, live within our means and operate as such. And that's what the budget's going to reflect as we go through the very top. So I'm going to cover highlights of the city's budget in a few slides, handful of slides. If we go to slide number 3, as I summarized a few minutes ago, you'll see that our revenues are essentially flat. Our real property tax revenues at just under $1.8 million as estimated for FY27 will be up just over $19 million. That's an increase of about 1.09%. Those revenues are based on flat property tax assessments, And we expect that, at least for a few years, those assessments will continue to be flat. All of the other revenues that add to funding sources to pay for our essential services are also flat relative to the appropriated amount for FY26 as adopted by Council. This slide is something that we show annually. It shows the fact that because we have limited land on the island, demand for land usually exceeds supply. The county has been able to grow its assessments over time. So if you look at the last 30 years, the assessments on average on a growth basis goes up about 4 to 5%. We've had peaks and valleys, coming out of COVID-19 in FY24 and FY23 and FY24. We had fairly large increases in assessed values, more than 9% in 23, and in 24, about 11%. So we had large increases. In fact, in 24, we provided a credit back to our taxpayers in light of 2 consecutive years of large increase in assessed values. And then 25, 26, 27 projected relatively flat, and 27 essentially at 1%, 1% increase in assessed values. Okay, we're gonna review highlights of our operating expenditure budget for FY27. We typically start with a pie chart, and the reason we show this is the fact that we have a lot of fixed costs that we have to cover. The largest category of our operating expenses falls under what we call miscellaneous. We should actually call it employee benefits. Most of the balance relates to employee benefits. That's about $886.6 million, or 22.3% of the total pie. We then have debt service of $725.6 million, 18.3% of the pie. Public safety, the mayor's priority, at $674 million as budgeted for FY27 is about actually closer to 17% of the pie. And then we have mass transit that includes Skyline, the bus, and handy van. And at $490 million, that's 12.3% of the pie. So as you add those costs that we've been committed to cover to serve the public, you get pretty big numbers. The subtotal through the mass transit pie piece is 68.9%. And then if you add our sanitation, and we have a lot of legally required investments to improve our sanitation, collection, processing, disposal, we're looking at another $447 million, or 11.25%, taking what we've already allocated with regard to operating expenses to 80%. So looking at employee benefits, debt service, public safety, mass transit, sanitation, already 80% of our entire budget is allocated. And that means that the remainder, 20%, is allocated for services that fall under general government, such as DPP, parks, and our human services, DCS, taking care of people in need, those that are in need, and then maintaining highways and streets. So we have to work with a smaller proportion of the budget to cover those essential services, and the percentages have not changed very much over recent years. They're fairly stable. Slide 7. We talked about the fact that we have long-term liabilities and commitments. They fall under our post-retirement health benefits, ERS, or the pension benefit for employees, debt service, rail operation and project-related costs for rail. And of course, we have the current collective bargaining impact that'll cover fiscal 26, 27, 28, and 29. The collective bargaining impact for 27, if we just look at 27, is about $52 million. That would include increases to salaries and fringe benefits over the 4-year period that the new CBAs are covering. We're looking at about a $55 million increase year over year, compounded. So it's going to be a significant cost to cover in light of flat revenues, and that's why, you know, we have to continue to be fiscally responsible in our budgeting and ensure that, you know, we spend wisely. Going to slide 8, you know, if you go to the budget book and take a look at the executive operating budget, you'll see that there are swings in amounts, you know, by category. So if you look at department budgets in total increased by about $96.9 million, and that's primarily due to the funding of green waste, food waste program, and wastewater chemicals and wastewater billing system expenditures of $23.9 million. There's increases of salaries for public safety, vehicles, P25 radios that are long due in being replaced and upgraded. That's at about $20.9 million or $20.6 million. There are increases in transportation mobility costs for contractual services for the operation of the city's bus and paratransit services, $13 million. And then the increase of $10.5 million for enhanced homeless services that we'll talk more about as we go through department briefings. The Department of Community Services will cover enhanced homeless services. What you don't see on the list in terms of increases in the executive operating budget at the department level are the CBA increases. And what we did this year is we took a hard look at our vacancies. And as you know, and thanks to all of you, we've budgeted most of the dollars to fill positions in recent years. So fiscal 24, fiscal 25, fiscal 26, we got most of what we asked for to fill positions. What we've learned that, you know, in our current state pool of talent, especially on this island, we're able to fill, but we're not filling fast enough. And while we fill, and in most cases departments fill the positions that they've funded for, people leave. So we have people leaving the city, retiring. We have terminations from time to time. And the net impact is positive. So we're reducing our vacancies, but not as quickly as we want to. As such, we took a look at the lapsing or the unused appropriations for the last few years on an actual basis and determined that there are certain departments that can plan better from a hiring standpoint, can do more accurate projections. And we decided that, you know, instead of reducing essential services that the city provides, we would reallocate some dollars from salaries to balance the budget and to ensure that essential services and the mayor's priorities are covered. And you'll see that, and nothing's hidden. If you go to the line item detail report, you'll see that we've reduced certain department salaries in certain activities, and we've allocated those dollars to balance the budget. It's about $30 million. With regard to the $30 million removed from the salary budgets, we also reduced employee benefits. So we went into the provisionals for ERS, OPEB, you know, retirement health benefits. We took a look at payroll taxes, and we reduced those down as well. in amount commensurate with the reallocation of salaries. And all departments are teaming up, pitching in. We're going to work together. There are certain departments, smaller ones, that have maybe a dozen employees, a handful of employees. We didn't touch salary budgets for those departments. But there are some larger ones also that run extremely tight, efficient budgets. I have to call out HFD. We didn't take any, we didn't reallocate any salary dollars for vacant positions for HFD because they run their budget tight. They have a good plan that they implement year in and year out. One more thing that we have heard is that there have been questions about deactivated positions. The deactivated positions for the city as a whole has not changed very much. In FY26, our budget included about 420 deactivated positions. For the FY27 budget, we have about 410. So there were small amounts of deactivated positions reactivated based on operational need. And keep in mind, deactivated positions are positions that, while may be on the org chart, have not been included in the budget. Yeah, so we don't include the count, we don't include the position, we don't include the dollars for those deactivated positions. And it's based on department need, based on operations, what workforce they need, what skill levels that they need to carry out and provide essential services. So we feel that the departments can control that, and we do track if reactivations occur because we have an e-form process that we use to document positions that are reactivated. So we have a tracking on those things. Okay, we're going to go to slide 9. As I mentioned earlier, as I rambled for a little bit, sorry about that, there were decreases in fringe benefits and provisionals. $34.4 million decreased with regard to the provision for hazard pay. We have 0 in the provisional for FY27. In 26, we had $34.4 million, so the swing is decrease of $34.4 million. We have a reduction in the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay of $13.4 million. That decrease is due to the fact that the UPW, HGEA, and Ashopo CBAs were negotiated before we put the budget in, and we're able to reflect the salary rate increases, benefit increases in the FY27 budget for those unions. HFFA and ocean safety are still being negotiated, so we have estimates in the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay to cover HFFA and ocean safety. We have a reduction of $10.7 million in retirement system contributions. That's tied largely to the reduction of spiking and also the reallocation of pay that I mentioned at the department level. Salaries reallocated out of salary, so we reduced the ERS contribution as needed. And then lastly, with regard to the provision for climate resiliency activities, about $8.9 million had been funded in FY26 as adopted. In FY27, a large portion of the budget is in CCSR's budget, and we did it that way so CCSR can control the expenditures that fall under the provision for climate change. Okay. With regard to slide 10, we talked about the money we got during COVID and after COVID-19 to recover. And as the mayor mentioned, there were significant amounts of monies received from the Treasury. So, CRF, CARES, ARPA, and then FTA monies for transit. So when you add that all together, you're talking about, I believe Mayor's accurate in that, $800 to $900 million of funding was received from 2020 on forward. In FY26, year-to-date, we're projecting $19 million. And for 27, there'll essentially be nothing. So, all of the federal monies that we received from the federal government essentially has gone away. And that's another reason why we have to be fiscally responsible as we budget. For FY27, when we look at debt service by source, you'll see that debt service increased by $28.8 million, or 4.1%, from the adopted FY26 budgeted amounts. Most of the increase is from sewer revenue bonds. And those bonds are paid, debt service for those bonds are paid by the sewer fund, Fund 170. The GO bond amount outstanding includes the amount allocated to HART. So from a debt service standpoint, HART is budgeted $169.7 million for FY27. That amount is paid for by HART. But in the budget, we show the entire amount to be transparent. So the entire proposed debt service is $725.6 million, but $169.7 million of that amount is for HART, and HART pays for that directly. Okay, we're going to talk about the CIP budget, discuss highlights. Our focus for CIP are strategic investments in infrastructure, funding of projects mandated by state or federal law, especially for wastewater facilities, increase in affordable housing and homeless facilities, very high in the mayor's priority, and the continued investment in parks, recreational and cultural facilities, which are important for the livelihood and enjoyment of the public. If we go to the pie chart of our CIP budget, you'll see that the total budget is at $1.11 billion. This amount decreased by $172.1 million. So the operating budget increased by $38.4 million. The CIP budget decreased by $172.1 million. The net combined decrease is $133.6 million that the mayor mentioned. And for CIP projects, what we focused on, we have essentially 2 years and 10 months left in this administration. We really focused on looking at the 6-year plans for all of the project lines and made decisions on what we're going to start and finish. So big focus was on finishing projects during the next 2 years and 10 months. That and the requirement to spend to ensure that we're addressing deferred maintenance that can result in public safety concerns. We focused on that too, but essentially we looked at what we can start and finish, expenditures required that per mandate of law or to address public safety issues, and mayor's priorities. So those were the focuses, and that's how we streamlined the CIP budget to reduce it by $172.1 million, really looking at what we can complete over the next 2 years and 10 months based on our capacity going forward. Slide 15, some of the larger infrastructure improvements by function. We're looking at $454.8 million for sanitation projects, including wastewater capital projects, $213.4 million for highways and street projects, just lots of deferred maintenance that we have to get caught up with, and it's going to continue. When you look at construction in terms of phases, there was a big focus on projects that are going to be completed, and $595.1 million of the entire budget relate to the construction and inspection phase of projects that are on the board for FY27. And then lastly, $195.1 million were allocated to projects for planning and design to get the project started, especially those that we believe we can complete. Our budget book, I'm not going to read the individual projects to you because they're all listed in the budget book. You can get that information from the mayor's budget book that's posted online. So with that, that's a high-level overview of our FY27 budgets for the executive operating area and the capital improvement area, and I'll be up here with Carrie and the rest of the administration staff here for questions.
Mahalo, Director Kawano. Before we proceed with questions, just like to recognize the joining us in the chamber, Councilmember Wire. Thank you. Members, before we get to discussion, I will turn it over to the questions, and we can do this different ways. I can start with Chair first, or if Chair, you would like me to go in order. Okay, I'll start with you, Chair, first, and then from there, we'll maybe go in order line-wise to keep track, and I'll rotate
thank you so
who goes
much.
first after that.
Good morning, Director. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm just curious, as you mentioned in the beginning of your speech, and I think I've heard you on the news say a few times that, there's a huge financial burden on all of us here on Oahu. I'm just curious, does the budget reflect, other than not raising taxes, do we reflect any way that we can lower the financial burden on our residents, such as lowering fees or lowering taxes? Have you guys thought about that at all?
We have looked at ways that we can lower taxes, and in fact, council members, you have approved increases that go in, I believe, FY27. We're going to increase the exemptions, right, for homeowners. There is discussion in terms of looking at the cap, income cap for the real property tax credit. We're at $80,000 now. There has been talk about looking at it, increasing that. We looked at that, but because we were short in terms of providing essential services, we decided that it wouldn't be the right time now to reduce tax rates. At the same time, the mayor is committed to not increase tax rates, and as a result, we're going to keep the revenue line flat and ensure that services are provided. With regard to bus, we just increased fares, but we had to do that because of the costs. We have a situation where our fare box for bus, Skyline, and Handyvan is essentially just over 10%, of the aggregate operating costs, and we can't let that go out of hand. It would not be sustainable, and that's why the fares for bus were increased recently. And that the impact, as our Director of Transit Services mentioned, is about $4 million. But when you look at $4 million compared to increases that we have to cover going forward, it's not that much.
Well, congratulations on being able to absorb most of the collective bargaining increases. As you mentioned, $55 million this year, 55 million on top of that next year, 65 the following year. And by the time the end of the contract is, it's going to be an increase of 220 million. So this year, by only increasing the operating budget by 38 million, for the most part, you absorbed the 55 million that it's going to cost in addition to the base budget. Just doing simple math, right? If we have to come up with an additional 55 million for collective bargaining, but we're only increasing the budget by 38 million. So you took 17 million in cuts. Is that accurate?
Can you, I'm sorry, Council, can you repeat?
So the operating budget increases. It's 3.9 billion this year, correct? And that's an increase of 38 million.
38.4, correct.
38.4. But we had to come up with 55 million to cover the collective bargaining pay raises.
Yeah, 55 million is the average salary and fringe increase over the 4-year collective bargaining period.
Right.
For fiscal year 2027, the amount for that year specifically is about 52 million. It's close.
So I
But
guess
it
what I'm
goes-
saying
it
is
starts
if
lower and
we're
it goes up.
raising the bottom line by 38 million, and you had to come up with 55 million, you had to cut somewhere. And just doing math, that's 17 million in cuts?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we didn't have, all things being equal, if we didn't have to fund the 55 million, yeah,
We could have, yeah.
we'd have those in cuts, yeah.
Okay, and then we'll get into it with each department on where those cuts came from. But some departments took bigger cuts than others, and we can get into that later. But does your budget reflect any money that's put away for a rainy day? We still got to site a new landfill, possibly, or expand the existing one. We may need another boiler for H-Power. Disaster preparedness, right? If a big storm comes. I remember last time we had a hurricane warning. I went down to one of my shelters and looked around and thought, the roof's going to blow off of this place. Like, is there any money in the budget put away for a rainy day so that we can take care of these major costs down the road?
For FY27, we were able to afford putting away $5 million as a transfer to the Fiscal Stability Fund. And we're doing, the city has done well. We have not tapped that fund. By June 30, 2026, we should have approximately $200 million in the Fiscal Stability Fund to address, those situational concerns that you mentioned, storms, catastrophes,
Yeah,
things
I mean,
like
just
that.
looking at solid waste and the sewer system, right? That's a huge cost. I know in your budget you have money in the CIP budget to acquire land next to the current H-Power, I think 11 million. But I know you said that you only want to, in the next 2 years, do what CIP budget, within the CIP budget, what you can accomplish. But the fact of the matter is, and do you agree with me, that we're going to need another boiler at H-Power? And how much will that cost?
I think they have it programmed in. They being ENV, you can check with them. I don't think they're buying a brand new boiler. They're going to modernize what we have now. So it's going to be a situation where they put in tens of millions of dollars every year for a number of years. So they have it programmed into the budget to do that.
Okay. I'm looking forward to ENV's testimony as well. But that's all for me right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Members, I think I'll start on my far right with Councilmember Tolba and move my way. And we'll do the first round. After that, we'll go through if there's any with the second round question. So Councilmember Tolba, you're good? Okay, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto.
Thank you. Good morning, Director Kawano.
Good morning.
Just a few questions, just to get clarification. So you talked about the 50 million in cuts for vacancies, yeah? When I look at the 1101X vacancy cuts you guys did, it comes to 37.2. So the rest was fringe, you said? Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And what is that?
Benefits.
What is that fringe made up of?
The biggest piece is ERS. So if you add budgeted dollars in salary for positions, you need to make sure that there's enough in the ERS provisional to make the contribution because we're required by statute to make a contribution according to our salary level. There's two levels. There's 24% for all employees except for police officers and firefighters. And then for police officers and firefighters, we put in 41% of the salary.
Okay, and then when you put in new position and new funding for those things, you add in the fringe too then?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so it's apples to apples. Okay. I was looking at the list of how you guys did the department cuts by department for the vacancy cuts. You know, there are clear departments that took a bigger cut than most, and some took no cut. Was there any formula or guidance you guys use for how you guys did the cuts? Because, you know, I'm looking at HPD took the biggest cut, right? 17 million. DFM took the next, DPR. I mean, I just want to figure out how you guys kind of came up with this list.
So we used several factors. One was actual information on salary lapsing, you know, in recent years, so 23, 24, 25. We, through DHR, we track vacancy percentages. We track change in vacancy percentage. You know, is the department improving? Is it stable? Is it regressing? We took a look at that. We took a look at, or we discussed, because our analysts, budget analysts, are in constant discussion with departments. If the departments are going to include new sections or branches or have new functional roles, and we need budgeting for that, we make sure that we have budgeted, we have enough of a cushion for that kind of cost. And to the extent we have information on retirements and, you know, lump sum vacation payouts, we factor that in as well, because we have to have enough. So when you factor all of those variables in, you can take a look at you know, the vacant position dollars and make an educated estimate of what can be reallocated out. So we did it department by department essentially, and we did not do an across the board cut like you know, 3% or 2% or 5%. We looked at every department on a standalone basis. So you know, Mark is here. He's one of our administrators in budgetary admin, and they spent a lot of time this year. It was a lot of effort was put in by their team to go through all of the departments one by one.
Okay, so when the departments gave you their initial draft of their budget, did you tell them to come up with where they thought that the vacancy cut should come from, or you guys came up with that list?
We had to be proactive because we didn't know how short we were until we got into the balancing process. So I would say in the middle of, well, early in January, we already knew we're going to be short. We got to do something. So the month of January, for the most part, going into early February, our budget team worked with the departments to figure out how to address the problem. Because if we didn't do anything, we wouldn't balance.
So by the time they gave you their first draft in September or so, you guys told them what the number was for the cut, or?
Oh, no. Those numbers are really rough. So when the departments submit their first cut in September, most of them included a lot of items that were above, we call it above ceiling, where, you know, based on expected current operations, they asked for, you know, budget lines to address projects they wanted to undertake, deferred maintenance. If they felt that they needed more capacity, they asked for headcount to increase capacity. If they felt that they were actually missing capacity in certain functional areas, they asked for that additional capacity. So we knew coming in that we were going to have a problem, but not until the month of January we were able to, I think, zero in on where we're going to end up.
So that's when you tell each department, okay, police, you're going to take a $17 million cut. DFM, you're going to take a $5 million cut. That's what in January is when you told them?
I think it's not that simple. I think in the month of January they were told, hey, we have a problem. We're not balancing. So with your help, department admin team, we need to analyze these variables that go into how much can be reallocated, what they lapse, their vacancy fill rate, getting better, stable,
And by that
regressing.
time, you guys had an idea of where you wanted to cut, though, because you guys had been working on it since.
We had targets because, and I'm going to tell you, some of the items submitted were not mission critical, back in September. So when we
It's
added,
a wish list for departments, right?
yeah, when
Nobody's going to voluntarily take a cut, right?
yeah, we were approaching $200 million over our resources, that early in the budget process. So we combed through the budget 2 times. In October, mainly in October, the budget team, budget analysts, and BFS, we go through the budget and we identify what we believe is mission critical, what we believe, and we look at maybe perhaps a department missed something that we have to put in, and so on and so forth. They go back to the department, and then we go even through a more detailed review in December with the managing director, deputy managing director. The departments bring all of their admin staff, and we talk through what we call, they call them rebuttal items. So they're coming back and saying, hey, we want this, and here's why. So we comb through all of that. In January, we have a pretty good list of what we believe has to be added in. We go through that list a number of times, and we prioritize what we believe has to be budgeted, deemed to be a priority, mission critical, health and safety issue, and so on and so forth. And once all of that is done, we can figure out, okay, we have a number we have to balance to. Here's the amount we need, and we had to go find it. Yeah.
I'm just curious. The budgets that your departments turn in September to you, their wish list, right? Can we see those?
I don't think it makes any sense for you to see it because it's part of our interaction and discussion process. Because not all of the items are wish list items, and quite a few of the departments do a really good job, in terms of thinking through and proposing what's really needed to provide services, and then others not so much. So I don't see what good it does.
From coming from the state side, where we get to see the department's initial ask in the budget, it does help when you see, okay, this is what they wanted, this is what the administration put into the actual budget, and we can work back and see, okay, was this a good process? And that's kind of where my questions are, because we can't see what they asked for in the beginning. So would you be able to provide that to us?
I would prefer not to, council member, and I'll tell you why. The budget process and I've learned this over 5.5 years. The state and the city have very different budgeting processes. The state process is heavily controlled by the legislature. With regard to the city, the mayor has the power to submit his proposed executive operating and capital improvement budget to council. And through the public hearing process that we're starting today, council members can amend the budget from that point. And
How is that any different than the state system?
we control the start of the budget. I mean, just being honest with you, in our
The
charter,
government controls the start of the budget process on the state side. He submits a budget to us in December. And that's,
Maybe on the back end, he has to sign off, right, on the back end. But there's way more activity in in the budget formulation with the ledge in the state. On the city side, the mayor has the power to submit a proposed budget to council, city council. It's different.
in
It
what
may
way?
not, it may not seem that way, but it's very different. And we're more operationally focused.
So on the flip side,
As well.
then, the governor doesn't have the power to submit a budget to the legislature?
I don't think he does, right? He may have proposals, but it's
Submits
never
one.
complete. I think the ledge completes the budget and it goes to him for signature.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so you prefer not to show us that information?
I prefer not to, because I think it's a waste of time. It would, going forward, frustrate the process of the mayor working with his cabinet members and staff to submit a proposed budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto. Councilmember Cordero. Sorry, Councilmember Cordero, before we continue, I would be remiss not to recognize, I know that I had planned this later in the schedule, but I'd like to recognize here with us in the chamber Deputy Managing Director Krishna Jaram and Chief of Staff Andy Sugg. I did have you later, but I want to recognize you while you're sitting here. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Hi, Director Kawano. Thank you for being here and the updates. I do have just two questions for on your presentation. One is highlighting what both Chair Waters as well as Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto brought up regarding ERS. And you mentioned that is the biggest component for this budget and what we've had to cover. So I understood, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you mentioned that we are contributing less percentage-wise into the ERS. Is that correct? Oh,
We reduce the ERS contribution relative to the salaries that were reallocated
allocated.
to fund city programs and activities, essential programs and activities to serve the public.
Okay, I understand. And because of that, and I was trying to look at, and I was asking my staff too to look up the HRS subsection 88-105 regarding ERS valuations and our allocations. And I know that it's a buy-in, right, with between all, and understanding between all the counties as well as the state for what we put in. So does the city then appeal to ERS, the ERS system or ERS in general, for lowering our contribution into the fund based on our current fiscal year or fiscal situation?
There are constant discussions between all of the counties and the ERS state as well, DHERD. Back, prior to 2012, the state was in trouble. If it did not start to curtail the growth of accrued benefits, the program would essentially bankrupt the state and the counties. And whatever quasi-governmental entities that are included in the ERS. And that's why from 2012 on, certain increases in pay were not included, right? Into the accrued benefit formula. I think the goal of the ERS is to, at some point in the future, to fully fund the liability. The liability is huge. I think at the statewide level, it's, and my numbers may be wrong because too many numbers in my head. It's $12 billion of unfunded liabilities. The city's portion is a few billion of that $12 billion. So it's huge. We are, when you look at what's allocated to the city, because it's a pooled plan, right? We're all pooled in together. The city is about 65% funded based on the allocated liability amount. Some of the other counties are funded at a higher percentage, some not, but we're at about 65%. So that's still 35% more to fund. Making progress towards fully funding the pension liability is viewed on a very positive basis by the rating agencies, so Standard and Poor's and Fitch. And as a result, that's one of the factors that support our very strong bond rating of AA plus, AA plus. So, we want to continue that because it keeps our debt service costs down, keeps the interest rate down that we pay on bonds. So, getting to the point, it would be difficult, I think, to ease the contribution because at the same time, we're trying to pay off or fund, not pay off, but fund the liability so that, we don't have a huge mortgage on the books for future generations.
Right. Thank you, Director. And I think that's the point of my question is if with our decrease in the percentage of our contribution to the IRS, does that then put a higher percentage in the outer years as well?
Well, there's talk now of increasing the contribution rate for police officers and firefighters from 41% to 44%. And, the actuaries did a quick calculation for us. If we were to implement that on July 1st, 2026, we would have $14 million more to fund.
Okay.
And that would require that we cut somewhere else to cover the $14 million. So presently, the measure is being considered for a deferral to July 1st, 2027 or later. We're hoping that, it gets pushed out because we just can't afford it right now.
Okay, so deferral to July 21st or 1st? Sorry.
July 1, 2027.
Oh, 2027. Okay,
it got pushed out a year, and we hope more than a year if possible.
Okay, I understand. I do want to move on to my second question or subject matter. This is in relation to, of course, the fiscal situation. I know that our first budget together was calendar year 2021, fiscal year 2022. And I know that the administration has 2 years and 10 months, so do majority of this council. And of course, we have that same urgency to want to continue to support city services, especially core city services. And back then, and as I did every other budget year cycle, I've mentioned like different things from things that your department very much disagreed with, which is, increasing in certain parts of like residential A, and then also so that we could lower different RPT rates and also services, and including getting rid of and charging certain exemption classes as well, like religious institutions, for example. Like even just a nominal fee would take in a few millions of dollars, which we've argued from when I was budget chair to not, and even before that. And I know that is something that's difficult to discuss, but I really think the main focus, and I think the main goal for us as a council, as well as the city administration, us as a city, is to how can we shift the burden to those who are able to afford it versus those who are struggling to make it every single day. And whether that be, of course, us giving more exemptions and like funds that we've been doing the past few years, more like a higher exemption rate. But I mean, there's that huge trickle effect when it comes through more and taking more city services and then not allocating and shifting the burden in other ways, like the examples I've given. So I don't know the exact question, but I think the questions that Chair Waters started to talk about really brings that to light, because we really should be bringing that up. I mean, I've been bringing it up, and I know that you've told me we're not going to raise taxes. And I know that I was alone in that for some of the components, and I understand. But, 5th year and bringing it up again, I just didn't want to let that opportunity go. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Thank you so much. Aloha, Director Kawano. Thank you for being here. Just have a few comments, nothing in-depth because all of my in-depth comments are going to go for the departments. But in the comparison of key revenues on page 3, you said it's relatively flat because, I mean, it's fluctuating like 1.5 million, 3.2. I guess for some of the ones that have decreased, which is 5 of them, just if there is any trends that you've noticed. You don't have to mention it now, but I think for us, especially because I know for the possible, changes like fuel tax, because people are going electric or whatever it is, we just have to be mindful of trends. Because I think even if it's relatively flat, if it's continuing to go that way, we should be mindful of maybe that might not be a place where we'll get revenue anymore. Just a thought. Because I think the next page has the bar graph. And then in the bar graph, it's showing us all the dips of when we kind of dipped with real property tax. And so it's showing us kind of what we should be mindful of. Same thing with the first page. I think that idea of like, okay, let's be mindful because fuel tax is coming down. This is one's going up. I do appreciate the one graph about real property tax, but seeing as though you listed various sources as kind of where our revenues are coming from, it'd be good to have a good outlook on that. I think on page 8 and 9, so I know that you're talking about where the increases might be, and I appreciate you bringing up kind of the highlights of which I can ask some of these to the departments. And then on page 9, where some of the decreases might be. And similar to the concerns of Councilmember Cordero, I know you guys are suggesting that we reduce the retirement system contribution. I would say this was a huge deal on the state side, deferred benefits, these unfunded liabilities. It's all money to pay any of those benefits. So I think we got to be mindful of that. And I think lastly, some of the commentary brought up by Councilmember Nishimoto about the departments and the timing of when they present to us. So there are differences between the city and the state, and I can tell you what works well that's not mandatory. It would be nice if we got the presentations from the department in months ahead of the week before budget, because it was like drinking out of a fire hose. So I think to some degree, it is true that the departments come and talk to us prior to today, but there's nothing that precludes them from talking to us in December or January when we don't really have any hearings or committees that we could kind of like calmly talk with them through it. Because taking every single department's appointment this past week was crazy for my schedule. Hard to understand all that they were giving us. So I think maybe in a more measured approach, maybe if they contact us December, January, give us time to kind of piece things together, have a little bit more dialogue. I feel bad. Some of them, I had only 15 minutes I could talk to them. I wish I could have given them more so that when we have these conversations in budget, they're more well-rounded. We're better able to kind of understand where they're coming from. There's just a little bit more give and take. That's it. I know a lot of pressures on you, Director Kawano. So I think what Councilmember Nishimoto is bringing up is like, how do we make this process like more reciprocal where they get our time, we get their time? I know how to do that. Don't meet with us the week before budget hearing. That's the best thing to do. Maybe when we're calm, when they're calm. And I know that that doesn't mean that the budget's final, right? Because in December, January, they're not going to have final numbers. But hey, share with us your priorities, how things are going. You don't have to tell us every nuance, but it would be great to have more time with them prior, leading up to the budget, to know that we can work with them before we step into these meetings. But thank you so much for your work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank
Chair,
you.
may I make a couple comments?
Sure, of course,
I
Director
didn't
Kawano.
receive, I don't think I have to respond to any question, but just a couple comments. Councilmember Tupola, we can meet with Budget Chair Okimoto and do a postmortem to discuss,
Thank you.
improving communication and the timing of the information. Because there's a lot, we know there's a lot. And our staff work really hard to provide everything on March 2nd. So, I can say we can take a look at that. But I don't think there should be a situation where our internal interactions as the administration is frustrated because we're sharing information that may be a reach, may not be strongly substantiated, and we go back and forth, because to me that's just a waste of time. When we provide the mayor's proposed budget, we're ready to talk at that time. The second thing I wanted to clarify is on the retirement plan that we have through the ERS. We are required by state law to make contributions based on salaries. So when I say we made a corresponding reduction in the ERS provision, it's because we reallocated vacant position dollars to cover other city costs so that we can provide essential services. What we do is we reduce the contribution estimate to the ERS on a commensurate basis. We also track the spiking bill we get annually. So as employees prior to July 1st, 2012 retire, there's a spiking bill that we receive from ERS. Fortunately, the trend has been coming down. You know, it peaked right after COVID because I think a lot of people retired, and the calculation is done on an actuarial basis at the time of retirement with about a year to year and a half delay. But that spiking charge is coming down, so that helps to reduce the ERS provisional because we have to put an estimate of the spiking charge in the provisional. So we're paying what we have to pay, believe me, and we're paying based on statute. So I just wanted to clarify that for the public.
Thank you, Director Kawano. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Definitely we're paying enough. I just think that I know that it's good for us to kind of like have funds when we need it. So thank you for that clarification. And thank you for suggesting to do the postmortem, because I do think that we always just want to get better and more efficient. That's it. You know, so do you guys. And I don't think we're trying to suggest that there be any, you know, disclosure of things before they are finalized. But, you know, for example, poor director of culture and the arts, she just got barely through her values and mission statement. I was like, sorry, girl, time's up. So I couldn't even talk to her about any of her budget because we only had like so many minutes because I had so many other departments to meet with, and all I got was maybe like 2 slides. So I think if in general, just priorities, knowing directions of where we're going, even without specificity, because actually each of the mayors has to present to the ledge around end of January, February. And so you guys are saying some priorities before we know about it, right? Suggesting where funding might happen. So there is some disclosure of where funds might be headed towards. So anything that can give us that kind of broad overview, I think that's what I'm suggesting, knowing that obviously you're the money man and you got to crunch it down to the exact number. And when that day comes, we're ready to hear from you. So thank you very much, Director, for suggesting that we can maybe just talk after to debrief how we could do this better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank
Well
you,
taken.
Chair.
Thank you. And I want to point, I think that was brought up also in committee hearing, that was a concern. For some reason this year, out of the other years that I've been in this seat, it was very last minute when we were able to see the departments, unlike other years. So we're just trying to find ways to make this more efficient and work together with you. But thank you for your continued communication. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. I did want to, first of all, thank you for a streamlined budget. Very helpful. And now we could get to the nitty-gritty with regard to the individual departments. I did want to also just echo some of the concerns. I stated it, even if I was probably out of order in our last budget hearing with regard to concerns about the meetings. I stated it to you in person. But I need to let you know that, first of all, gold stars should be given to these following departments because they came in January and February. This would be the Department of Facility Maintenance, the Department of Design and Construction, the Department of Transportation Services, the Honolulu Fire Department, and the Mayor's Office of Culture and Arts. So let me tell you what the difference between what they did and the ones who we saw this week. There was not much of a difference, so it does not matter whether or not the mayor submits his budget on Monday. All I'm just asking is a little respect for us because this was, last week was committee week. I endeavored to try to accommodate a great majority, but having 19 agency meetings during committee week was very, very painful. And the agencies deserve better, but we also deserve better. So I just wanted to say that because a great majority of them were not fully prepared, quite frankly. And most of the discussions is not just about the budget, it's about their priorities and our priorities during the budgetary season. So I just wanted to make a comment about that. On the transient accommodations tax, I'm a little surprised. Is it, could you tell me about this decrease? Do you know what it's about? Is it because of the continuing decrease in number of Japanese and Canadian visitors? I was not expecting that a decrease in the transit accommodation tax. Do you know what that accounts for?
Councilmember Kiana, I believe you hit it right on. There's a lot of factors involved with regard to the decrease, and it is partially the slowness of the return of the Japanese visitor, and for the South Korean visitor, the visitor from China, mainland China, and all of that. There is a concern about that, and the Canadians are slow to come back as well, and that's why I read today in the paper they're sending a contingent up there, right, to lure them back. You know, explain why it's a good spend for Canadians to come back to Hawaii. So they're working on that, and there is concern. So we reflect, and I have to admit, we are conservative when we budget, because we don't want to be in a place where we have a number that's higher and we don't realize it. And as a result, as we, reach the end of the fiscal year being budgeted for, we have to, hunker down and pull the reins, so to speak, and potentially impair services. So we're conservative, but there are things happening globally that could negatively impact and are negatively impacting visitors to Hawaii in general.
Absolutely. So I am looking forward to the Office of Economic Revitalization's development of an Oahu tourism strategic plan. I do not believe that as the largest county, the most impacted by any decrease in TAT, that OER works closely with all of the relevant city agencies, because we need not wait for the Hawaii Tourism Authority and others to be telling us what to do. We need to look after ourselves. And that report also takes into account the impact on the quality of life for the people of Oahu, as well as impact on our natural resources. I do appreciate that you put the Office of Climate Change in charge of the Climate Resiliency Fund. For the TAT, with regard to impact on natural resources, are you going to continue the budget of fiscal services to oversee that portion of the TAT, as opposed to the Department of Parks and Recreation?
We have general responsibility for the Oahu Transit Accommodations Tax. We work very closely with Parks, with Director Thielen, and there's going to be a continued heavy emphasis to fund park programs.
Okay.
Because that it brings benefits to locals, very important benefits, especially the youth programs that we have at the parks.
Absolutely.
So we're going to continue to do that, especially in neighborhoods.
And I actually was going to tell you to keep it with you, because although DPR is one of the beneficiaries, the language of that provision says impact of our natural resources from tourism, and that could apply to all. So I just ask, because I care about those two sliver of funds, that I think the climate change has a robust outreach program with all the agencies. I just ask that your office make sure there is a similar robust outreach to all departments with regard to that provision, because it's about the same amount of money and it impacts quality of life for our residents. And while I know DPR's Kuleana is aligned with that, so are other agencies, including the Department of Enterprise Services. So, and then I think I'll wait for this one on the hazard pay for the managing director's office, but I know that we haven't calculated HFD yet into the budget. Is that correct or not correct with regard to the budget?
So we have in FY26, we have $34.4 million in the provision for hazard pay. We have preliminary estimates for HFFA and OTS, and we should be within that amount. That's why we did not budget anything in FY27
Okay,
for hazard pay. I believe will be covered. And with regard to Teamsters, we know that OTS has not had discussion with the union yet. Well, this is as of last Thursday or Friday. So I don't want to get too much into the details, but we did provide a cap per eligible member. Hopefully that goes well. But there hasn't been a discussion between OTS
Okay.
and the union
and
yet.
I just wanted to flag that I understand that there are employees within various departments who felt perhaps that their ASO did not properly identify them as eligible for hazard pay. And so there's going to be staff perhaps who feel that they fell in the cracks. Again, I'll address it with the managing director's office, but I just wanted to flag that for you. You know, if we're going to talk about equity and fairness, we need to make sure that every employee does not feel that any part of the system let them down. And if an ASO was irresponsible for identifying the appropriate employees and based their decision when negotiating with the administration and the appropriate union, that is not right. Because if they perform comparable duties to everybody else in their division or their department, they need to be treated equitably. So I understand as checks have been going out, certain staff have been realizing in some of the departments that they were never part of it, and it was because their ASO did not properly identify them as being eligible. Just wanted to flag it for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kiana.
Thank you, Senator Kiana. Councilmember DeSantis Tam.
Thank you, Chair. I have three questions. I want to follow up on this question about hazard pay. Given that there is a decrease in the allocated provision for hazard pay going into FY27, will every eligible employee receive their hazard pay by June 30th of 2026 when this current year's budget ends?
I cannot answer to that because Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, as I mentioned, OTS has not had discussion with Teamsters yet, to my knowledge at least. If the discussions are prolonged, we may have to, if we have enough information, and I'm hoping we do, we should we'll encumber as of June 30, 2026, an estimate of what we believe will have to be paid. Because we have an estimate now, but until it's discussed, it's hard to book as an encumbrance. Yeah.
Understood. And I think that satisfies my question that we're encumbering these funds so they don't just lapse and expire. I have two other questions. The first relates to the overall budget picture. And the specific context of this question is in previous budget years, there has been this constant push to shift the burden, so to speak, to tourists. And Councilmember Kiana started asking about the TAT revenues. There were a number of pushes as to what to do with the TATs in the anticipation that we would have abundant TAT. Councilmember Kiana already pointed out that there's 1.5 million less, but when you start digging further in the RPT revenues coming in, the hotel RPTs is down 1.6% this year versus last year. B&B rate is down 3.7%. And I share this because one other thing's happening. The TBU rate, though, the revenues from TATs have gone up. 10.7% for the first tier and 14.7% for the second tier. What happens if our TAT revenues don't come in? Have they come in this year as anticipated?
Very close. Yeah, projecting very close.
And so when would we know next year that we're starting to not be close if things continue to be very soft? More than the 1.5% decrease that we're already projecting.
That's why we try to be conservative. We're not going to hit every estimate on the dot. I can tell you right now, another estimate that we do is earnings on the investment pool. And Councilmember, we discussed that during our meeting. We're conservative on the investment pool as well because of everything going on in the world, right? And the activities in the world, all of the geopolitical unrest, the war, tariffs going on and off, so on and so forth. The ability to get, even for the city, right, supplies and the fuel costs. If fuel costs go up, that will increase costs for our island in many ways, right? Electrical power, gasoline that we use to fuel our cars, shipments coming in. We import what, was it 90% of our food, something high like that? So everything's going to go up if fuel goes up. So, with that in mind, we generally are conservative. Whether or not we're going to hit the OTAT number on the dot, I don't know. As far as when in 2027 our team will be able to, come up with a solid projection, I would have to say, with everything going on in our world right now, probably not early in 27. It'll be as we go further into 27. And I'm just trying to be ultra logical with you. It's going to be a while.
That.
There's just so much going on.
I appreciate that. And I guess coming into this current budget process that we're going to be through in the next few months, I think we really need to be mindful of all of these blinking red lights that perhaps are indicating that things may be more difficult. And that's going to force us to make tough choices. And that leads me to my final question for this moment of the hearing. Given that the forecast economically, tourism, et cetera, it's very cloudy at best, how can we, following up Councilmember Cordero's question, shift the burden from those who are struggling, and we know are going to struggle if the economy continues to face all these headwinds, to those on the top end? And coming into the following year's budget, we just passed Ordinance 25-44, which changes the tiers for the Res A and TVUs, right? TVUs went from 800,000 to 900,000. So those who own TVUs, very nice, lovely TVUs with an ocean view and welcoming these tourists that may or may not arrive, they're getting a little break, right? And have we done any analysis for how that's going to impact the FY27 budget?
I believe that analysis is in progress by RPAD. They're already looking into the future. I just want to state this, that anything that we do on Res A affects not only homeowners that are non-residents, but impacts residents as well. Because as we know, there are a number of residents that own beachfront property that they enjoy with friends, right?
Must be nice.
Yeah, and some have huis. And I met with one once that had, a dozen properties on the North Shore.
Must be nice.
Yeah, and you can't feel sorry for those types of property owners because, they are wealthy. I don't have investment property, so you're right. The Res A change will make it. Will be a nice break for some of the non-residents that have Res A properties, but it also will benefit residents as well that have investment property, beach houses and so on. Some do. I think Councilmember Cordero raised a lot of concern about different changes we've made to the existing tax. Discussions of prospective changes or possible changes to the existing tax structure. And there are reasons why we push back on some of them. But I think if we want to make change happen, and I've said this before, we should form a permitted interaction group and discuss the structure of our real property tax program, looking at the other counties, looking at other cities similar in demographics to us, and discuss a possible restructuring. Should we go to a homeowner-occupied, non-homeowner-occupied format? To change the allocation of the number of parcels within the classes, giving us more flexibility to perhaps lower the tax rate for homeowner-occupied properties. You know, that's the kind of stuff we got to talk about going forward. But I hear you, and good points you made about some of the changes and possible impacts for residential A property owners.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. Just a few questions. Director, I'm curious because the THP discussion came up, the hazard pay discussion, and so I know you said 34.4 million. How much exactly is left? Do we know in the account?
I don't know exactly.
And I only ask because payments have been going out, and as colleagues mentioned,
Yeah,
zero.
I'm hoping the 34.4 is close enough to what we need. I feel that there's going to be some leftover, but not much. It really depends on how the discussion with Teamsters goes. And we have a cap. We can only afford so much. And, you know, we're hoping that we can make do with what we have, the 34.4. That's the ultimate goal.
So is it a matter of coming back to budget, Chair, if you need more money, or are you going?
We don't have any more money. We're tapped.
Okay.
We can't expend any more on hazard pay. And keep in mind that the Teamsters and HFFA, they really don't have a contractual provision, you know, in their CBAs for hazard payments, for hazard payouts.
Understand.
Therefore, this whole thing is an equity situation.
Just to come back in, because I know you can answer those questions. I think my main concern was city employees, so not, well, obviously the others are city employees, but probably folks who would be HEA members that when you look at the enumerated list of ineligible employees, they fall outside of that. So they would otherwise qualify for the payment because they did work in office in the community, you know, at various locations throughout the city during COVID. And there was that mix-up that Councilmember Kia-Aina referenced. So I know those are questions, maybe we'll get into it later in the presentation, but I think I was just wanting to make sure the funding issue was clear. And so I'm hearing you say there's discussions with other unions that are being resolved. And so we don't know for sure what amount that'll be. But at the end of the day, the pot that we have currently in the fiscal year 26 budget is all the funding that's allocated and that will be allowed. Is that correct understanding?
Yeah, we can't afford to increase the budget. We have other essential services that we have to fund. And I think the amount offered to fire, and you know, we're going to offer a package similar to fire to Teamsters is fair and equitable if it's handled right. Keep in mind that for Teamsters, we don't make the payments to the members.
Yeah.
The OTS payroll team will make the payments. We will have to fund it from an equity standpoint.
Do we have any idea, aside from those unions, do we have any idea of how many HGA eligible members have not received their payment yet?
So are you're going to, okay, so you're talking about DCS now, or just HGEA in general?
I don't know other departments that may have the same issue. So I mean, if
I don't have that information. You're going to have to ask DHR. Yeah.
Okay.
For specific information like that.
Okay. And then I guess the second question was just coming to the reality, and I echo the appreciation of you and the administration providing a budget that's still seeking to meet the needs of the community during challenging times. So mahalo for that. And I know we'll go forward with that in mind. But of course, I'm always wary and leaning too hard on scarcity in a time when all the factors, and this isn't a reflection of the budget, but just as we're brainstorming paths forward, you know, at a time where you're mentioning all these factors that are going to be further pressing our community. And do think it is appropriate to assess the burden shifting and mechanisms. And you mentioned the PIG. I guess what I'm curious is outside maybe the annual comprehensive financial report, are there, any reports that you can point us to read or dissect that maybe overlay the financial direction and projections for our revenue generation and maybe the impacts in the direction we're heading with housing production. And I think that is just a question I ask because I know we've been evaluating, all of us have been diving into mechanisms to increase housing opportunities for our community. And, you know, obviously we've gone through the discussion of, you know, empty homes tax, the Res A restructuring, whether the, you know, low-income tax credit is a better mechanism to ensure folks in homes can stay in homes if they have limited incomes. But just really curious if we're shifting to revenue generation so we can do that burden shifting. Is there anything you can point us to that would help us assess, you know, improvements we can be making to increase revenue, to provide those opportunities and meet the needs of our community in a challenging time?
I think you're going to get a lot of that from the departments because a number of them have ideas that they're discussing to you know, add to programs to generate some revenue. Keep in mind that at the start, a lot of these programs that, you know, for instance, entrance fees for parks, as an example, are going to start slowly. So during our administration, we're not talking about a lot of money, you know, $1 million here, $1 million, maybe a few $1 million. But it's not going to be enough to stem the kind of increases that we're dealing with, you know, in costs that we have to fund. It's going to help. I think where we all can help is, you know, we have the new sponsorship ordinance. Let's look for sponsors from folks that are non-residents. Let's look for those opportunities to help fund our operations, to help fund deferred maintenance. I know Director Holyfield in Enterprise Services is doing a great job, and they're seeking sponsors, and the same thing perhaps with parks and maybe even transit services. So they're working on that, but it's going to be a lot of small things that we do to help to you know, cover our costs of operations in a time when our main source of revenues are going to be flat.
Yeah, appreciate that. I mean, of course, all these programs I support are awesome. Grateful for the work going into them, many cents on the dollar. So I think when we're looking at bigger picture revenue generation, I think that's why I'm curious about the housing plan, but I think you're right. It's a good conversation to dive into with the other departments. So thank you, Director. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Director Kawano, I just had a couple of questions before I turn it over to the members for any round 2 questions. And thank you again. I do have to echo, I know it was hard for you guys to do what you had to do, but I appreciate it. I appreciate when you say that you're looking at it and being conservative, because we have to be mindful of the taxpayer dollars. So given the situation, the financial situation you've been handed, thank you. I did have a couple of questions, and this is kind of tagging on to something that I saw last year at the end of the budget, relating to CIP funds for vehicles. Can you explain why the administration now finds it acceptable to purchase motor vehicles using CIP funds? Again, last year we made the exception for HPD, but I find that this year we're allowing it in more than one department, and I wanted to understand the reasoning.
We'll talk more about the kinds of vehicles being purchased by some of the departments, but we're talking about larger, more heavy-duty vehicles that have a useful life of 10 years or more and cost more than $60,000 per unit. That's the policy we follow, and that policy ties to our debt policy that we have, because in CIP, most of the purchases are debt financed, right? We do GO bond financing, but we follow the criteria, 10 years or more and unit costs of $60,000 or more. Police cars only have lives of anywhere from 6 to 7 years. They get beat up pretty quick. And even though a police car can cost more than $60,000, the right thing to do is to put them into the operating budget, because they turn a lot. They turn over much more quickly compared to trucks and some of the larger passenger vans we buy and other heavy equipment, you know, garbage trucks for E&V and so on.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a discussion I probably want to have more because I just fundamentally have pause with that. When we talk about capital improvement projects, I don't imagine a $60,000 vehicle, regardless of what it is. I imagine, again, a police station, a fire station, a building of some sort, brick and mortar. So is this something the administration decided, the $60,000 and lifespan of 10 years? Is that an internal decision?
Who made the decision?
Yes. how did
You're
you-
asking that question?
Yes.
I did. It's my decision to do that. And if we don't draw the line somewhere and have the right allocation of operating funded equipment and CIP funded equipment, we're gonna stop at a standstill. We won't be able to fund all of our equipment. If everything were in operations, we wouldn't be able to fund all of our equipment needs. There's just no way. And then if we go the flip side, where we put everything into CIP, it's not going to work because we'd have to issue all kinds of different series of bonds with shorter lives, 6 years, 7 years. The shortest we go now is 10 years when we have to for, heavy-duty vehicles that we have in CIP. Keeping the bond issuance by series as simple as possible helps us to sell the bonds through the underwriter at the very best rates possible, at the cheapest rates possible. So that's what we do. We're trying to balance our cost of funding, and we want to be in a position where we can continue to maintain the AA+ rating that we have for bond financing.
And was this a decision that was made other than last year with the HPD vehicles? Was this something that had been done in previous budget fiscal years?
When the HPD vehicles got put in a CIP budget, that wasn't from BFS or the city. That wasn't from us. We didn't make
Okay.
that decision. That was an
So
amendment.
in this decision, so I guess my question for this year, the decision that you're making, has this decision been made in other fiscal years? By you?
For this year, we're following our policy very closely.
Has it been done in previous years by you?
I can't account for all previous years because there were some years where police vehicles were put in a budget when I wasn't around. It happened before my time.
Okay.
But I wouldn't put the cars there. And for sure, prospectively, they're not going to go there. Council members may decide to put the police cars in CIP, but that's not a good move.
Okay. Thank you. I'll continue the discussion with you offline if I have any further questions. And one more, regarding the $117 million bond principal lapse in FY25, can you explain why there was that lapse, and possibly to help educate the public, where do these lapse general funds go after they occur?
I'm sorry, council member, you mentioned lapse of...
The $117 million bond or principal lapse in fiscal year 25.
Bond or principal lapse? Okay, so that big
$117
lapse is really a record-keeping adjustment, and that's tied to HART. I believe that's tied to HART. So when we budget our GO bond debt service, we're transparent. We show the gross amount, the entire amount of debt service we have to make. HART will make payment directly to a bond fund that makes the debt service payment, so it doesn't go through the general fund. So the general fund component lapses, and then we have an offsetting impact when the payment is made, by HART. So we balance. It's just that we have to show the reduction because the city does not pay all of the debt service. HART will make payment directly.
Okay, and I think you did show in your graph earlier that there was that section that you mentioned that you put in the graph, but so
Yeah, and
that's
that's
the
why-
same thing here.
Yeah, that's why in our the supplemental information in the budget booklet, we show debt service with and without HART because we want to show how much HART contributes to debt service
Okay.
for the city.
Okay, thank you. I'm done with my first round. We'll go back to Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, Chair Waters.
Thank you. Hey, Director, I just want to go back to Councilmember Nishimoto's questioning regarding your comments dealing with the legislature being different than the city council. So I think it was your assertion that the legislature does the budget versus the executive branch, and here the mayor does the budget. But I want to point out that under the state constitution, Article 7, Section 8 reads, within such time prior to the opening of each regular session in an odd-numbered year as may be provided by law, the governor shall submit to the legislature a budget in a form provided by law, setting forth a complete plan of proposed expenditures of the executive branch. Turning to our charter on page 95, section 9-102, not less than 120 days prior to the end of each fiscal year, the mayor shall prepare and submit to the council an operating and capital improvement budget. So it's exactly the same, right? It just may be that the legislature exercises more discretion in fiddling with the executive budget. But the fact of the matter is, it's the same, right?
I think by the word of law, it's the same. But keep in mind, the state operating budget is a 2-year budget. It's very different. Our budget is for a year. So you have a situation, there's more iteration at the state level because of a 2-year budget. To me, the initial biennial budget is an estimate. It's not as hard as ours. You know, we try to tie things down as much as possible because our budget is heavily tied to operations and providing essential services to the public. So the process is different. I think
Well, no, I think
the law
process
may
is the
be,
same.
yeah, but the process is very different.
I think
Yeah.
the main difference is that the legislature is a biennium and we have every year, which, by the way, I'm not disagreeing that it's difficult and may even be more difficult than what the legislature does. But basically, it's the same. The executive comes up with their budget, they submit it to the legislature, or in this case, the city council, and then we have the opportunity to amend it as we see fit, and then it goes back to the mayor for signature or veto. That's the same as what happens at the legislature. But I'm not saying I don't agree with you that, heck, it's hard. It's hard. Every year we got to do this, right? Every year. That's difficult.
And I have
give-
2 more years
give you
after
that.
this year.
And 10 months. 2 more years and 10 months. But Managing Director, you want to
MD has some
comment?
thoughts as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
Sure.
Good morning, Budget Chair and Budget Committee members. Mike Formby, Managing Director. So, Chair Waters, I just wanted to add my recollection when I was at the state. So I started at the Harbors Division and then eventually became the Director of DOT. And every budget from every department was scrubbed and coordinated in advance with BNF, Budget and Finance. And there was no budget that was submitted by a department that did not have BNF and governor approval before it was submitted. The difference is the process is different. So we compile ours and we submit them as a centralized submission from the mayor's office. At the state, each department sends them in, but only after they're centrally scrubbed by BNF and the governor. So it's essentially the same process.
No, I appreciate that. The other thing, though, that Councilmember Nishimoto brought up, that the legislature gets a copy of the department's priorities, which is helpful because when we on the council try to develop our priorities, it's kind of helpful to know what the departments want. And it's scrubbed by Budget and Fiscal Services. So it's in our charter, it says that preparation of submission of the program budget, that not such other information as may be requested by the council. So do you have an objection if Councilmember Nishimoto or any other council members ask for the budget before it was scrubbed?
So Chair, what I would like to do is confer with Director Kawano. As Managing Director, I personally don't have an issue with that, but I want to confer with him on how it's been done in the past and what it would look like going forward. So I'm happy to talk to him and then get back to you on that.
Thank you so much. Hey, may I ask Director Kawano a couple questions about CIP? Terrific. So we're doing 1.1 billion in CIP, but actually in reality, we only float about half that amount, right, every year in bonds.
Correct. So that is a capacity. It's like a cap or a capacity, but we only float what we need to float. We don't want to incur debt
Right,
and interest that we don't need to incur.
right. No, I just want to point that out to the other members that while the administration is saying 1.1 billion, fact of the matter is we probably only float about 500 million or less in bonds for CIP. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I guess, as I mentioned before, we could go through each department individually, but just looking globally, members, you're going to see Council Communication 33, which the Council Administrative Services did with regard to a summary by department. You know, I just want to alert you folks to this. I think it might be very helpful, and including for you, Director Kawano. But it looks like, for the most part, as far as salaries reduction, only 3 departments were cut. It was Corporation Counsel, Facilities Maintenance, and Planning and Permitting, as far as salaries are concerned. Is that your recollection as well?
No, I would say most of the departments were had reallocations of salary dollars to other budgeting needs. Not just those 3. HPD, there was a larger reallocation from HPD. BFS, 5% of salaries got moved out. So we're going to have to, we're pitching into the effort as well.
My research shows that police have 19.4 million more in salaries than last year. And when I met with HPD, they said that was to take care of the 5% raise that they received and bonuses.
No, I think you have to look at the line item detail report. We have a specific object code showing a negative amount against salaries that had been moved out of the department and reallocated to assist in balancing our overall budget.
Okay. And then current expenses, looks like numerous departments were asked to help, which they did. But it looks like also equipment. A lot of the departments took a cut in equipment. Is that accurate?
You have to look at both, as Budget Chair Okimoto mentioned, you have to combine the equipment budget proposals in operating, so Class C in operating, and you have to look at the equipment being proposed in the CIP budget as well. So you have to add both together before you say it went up or down.
Okay, I'll definitely take a look at that. And then lastly, following up on a few of the other council members' questions regarding generating revenue. I know you want to do a permitted interaction group, but are you open to re-looking at the residential A categories? Maybe even raising the taxes on the higher end properties? I know the Big Island just raised theirs on homes 4 million or more. Are you open to that?
Yeah, I think we have to include RPAD though, because you have some properties owned by people that have apartment units. So there's a number of units on a parcel, and they may be more than $3 or $4 million. So we're going to have to, word the amendment to the ordinance for determination of classification that the rates are applied to carefully. We don't want to hurt the property owners that have investment property that provides housing to renters, in other words.
Yeah.
So we have to think that one through. But yeah, I mean that could be something we look at.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember Cordero?
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Hi, Director. I didn't want to make it too specific, but because it covers multiple departments, I did want to bring up something that was pointed out in your presentation as it relates to public safety. It is about the P25 radios. I know that there's like 8 million in HPD, 3 million in DIT. I don't know if it's switched or whatever, but and I know that you mentioned specifically that the P25 radios are for those that are like actively needing to be replaced because of like just the timeline, or I don't know what it's called, whatever word it was that you used. But we do that every year, right? I think we have in both DIT, HPD, and I don't know if it's in any other public safety departments, like however many we are putting in for those P25 radios. Why can't we budget for it like other public safety departments? You mentioned HFD like dwindles it down to the very last cent or penny sometimes. So they've budgeted like in anticipation of reoccurring equipment, right? And to me, P25 radios are something that we can assume are going to then be a reoccurring equipment expense. So I was wondering, since we do that every year and it equates to maybe like from 12 to maybe 18 million in multiple departments, why can't we just do the bulk and then do it like every 4 years, since maybe the lifespan, oh, that's the word, lifespan may be that amount?
Councilmember Cordero, that's a good question, but it's based on operational need. If you talk to, I mentioned HFD, and they're further along in many compared to many departments in terms of how they manage their asset needs, and I think they have schedules for staff as well, not just equipment. But yeah, if you look at what they do, you should go and look at how they record keep, how they manage their inventory needs. They have extensive reporting on all of their equipment, all of their parts, and they do ultimately manage such that they don't buy everything at one time. They manage it so that they buy so many every year to smooth out, the budgetary requirements, so you don't have a shock in any year where you have millions of dollars that have to be replaced. So if all of us can use their best practice and schedule out what we're going to need in terms of inventory of assets for operational purposes, we'll be better off. On top of that, to your point, we can then centrally buy stuff more effectively and buy, as a city, and hopefully drive costs down. But we're not there yet. We have to put operational processes in place first before we do that. But good point. A lot of large for-profit corporations do exactly what you are alluding to.
Right, and the reason I bring that up is because the P25 radios, 8 million in HPD, I would rather see that for upgrading our crime reduction unit equipment as well. So I just want to ensure that that's taken care of, as well as other units and divisions within HPD. And 8 million could be spread out among those different divisions. So thank you.
Thank you. Before I proceed, members, just to be mindful of everyone's time, finishing the second round, I'd like to keep questions if we can, because I know Director Kwan will come before us again, but if it's specific for a department, we'll take that up with a specific department. If we're going to finish this round asking overall budget questions for Director Kawano. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to all the members for mindful questions, and I'm in favor of moving to the next presentation. I know you had an hour at that microphone. Good job, Director. Oh. Oh, 2 hours. Yeah, thank you very much. But I do look forward to kind of hearing more specificity from the departments. Thank you, Chair, for all your allowance of time.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola, Floor Leader Kia Aina, Councilmember De Santos Tam, Councilmember Wire.
Just want to echo those things. So mahalo again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no further questions, members, we are technically in discussion, but I will gladly move on if we are done with discussion regarding this first item on the agenda. Thank you so much, Director Kawano. And I do want to recognize, I think I did see Managing Director Formby appear, and then he disappeared, so I didn't realize he was behind the podium until he stood up. Thank you for joining us in the chamber. Moving on to agenda item number 2, executive capital and operating budget review. We'll proceed first with testimony. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the executive capital and operating budget review. Members, I would like to note that we'll be taking up the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts at the end of the agenda, following the Ethics Commission. From the Office of the Mayor and the Managing Director, Office of Climate Change, Sustainability and Resiliency, Neighborhood Commission, and the Office of Economic Revitalization. For your information, the presentation is available online as Mayor's Message 28, 2026. And with us today, we do have our Managing Director, Mike Forby, I think he was here. Deputy Managing Director, Krishna Jairam, thank you for being so patient. I believe we have in the chamber also OCSSR Dr. Kealoha Fox, the Executive Director, from the NCO Executive Secretary Loy Yonenaka, and OER Executive Director Amy Asobai. Members, I will gladly turn the time over to Deputy Managing Director. Thank you, Krishna.
Good morning, Budget Chair Okimoto, Council Chair Waters, and Budget Committee members. Krishna Jairam, Deputy Managing Director, thank you for your time this morning. As Mayor Blangiardi and Budget Director Kawano noted, this is a tight budget, a tight disciplined budget, and we believe that the Mayor's budget and the MDO budget also reflects that. What I'd like to do is I'd like to reassure the Budget Committee that notwithstanding the tight budget throughout the Cabinet, throughout the MDO agencies, we have no intention of taking our foot off the accelerator. We'll continue moving forward with this budget. So thank you for this opportunity. The first slide shows the general fund vacancies for all of the mayor's office as well as the MDO budgets. And I'm sorry, we have a bit of a delay. As we get to each agency, please do ask questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll keep going forward. Then we'll go to the Office of the Mayor. As you can see, the Office of the Mayor, it reflects a very, very small increase of 1.2%. The majority of that increase is reflected by salary increases that are bargaining unit equivalents, as well as a small decrease in the contingency this year. It's a relatively small budget. It's increased by a very small amount. I'm happy to answer questions if any. Otherwise, I'll go to the Managing Director's office, which is the most sizable budget. Going on to the Managing Director's office, as council members, you all are aware, these are the detached agencies, and then we'll go directly to the Managing Director's budget. The Managing Director's budget shows an overall decrease this year. The main components of that decrease are in salaries as well as current expenses. In terms of salaries, the decrease is reflected by the fact that in last year's budget, City Council working with us added 2 positions and $250,000 in salaries for our federal funding efforts. And I'll explain further how those decreases happen, as well as a current expense of $500,000. This is also, the $500,000 is also reflective of what we collaboratively work with Council in terms of our federal funding initiative. So if I might, I'd like to focus on the federal funding piece a little bit, because that'll explain these decreases in greater detail. Last year, the council put in 2 positions as well as $250,000 towards a dedicated federal funding team. Additionally, it added $500,000 to already existing $250,000 for a total of $750,000 for additional expertise that was needed in the federal funding area. This past fall, we were fortunate to hire Erica Moritsugu to join on as our lead strategist when it comes to federal funding. Working with Erica, we were also able to hire Anika Nozaki, who we were able to recruit from Representative Case's office. She joined us from DC. So right now, our federal funding team is Erica Moritsugu and Anika Nozaki. And notwithstanding the fact that the council has been generous in terms of funding these positions, what we did is we were able to move them into vacant positions within the MDO. So this year we're coming forward, we're not asking for those 2 positions because we're able to move them into empty positions. Erica just joined, and Annika just joined. Annika joined, I think, 2 months ago. So what we have a great deal of confidence in their ability and their experience, and what we'd like them to do is to spend the next 9 months doing what they do and coming back to us and then coming back to council with an idea of what they might need in fiscal year 28. Additionally, because they're so new to the position, they're slowly but surely learning how to work with our federal consultants that we have on board, like Dennis Dwyer, our local consultants like Olomana, the grants prospector at OER. So the idea is that we want them to have the time to sort of see what all these different resources are, how they work, and sort of make sense of all of that. And then in fiscal year 28, come back to council with a more concrete proposal of what more we might need, if any. So that's what we're doing on the federal grant side. The other piece that I'd like to touch on, if I may, is our data efforts. I know council has been a great champion of the city getting better at data. In April of 2024, we hired Kira Chuchom as the city's first chief data officer. For a year, she did yeoman's work, working with all the departments, setting up the data community of practice, learning how the city works, and sort of putting together her plan, putting together an idea. And in last year's budget, the council gave us 2 positions, and we were able to fill both of those positions. So in the fall of this year, we hired Sandy Briggs. She's our data scientist. And we also hired, Sandy Easton. And then we also hired Briggs Christie, who is our data governance analyst. And so that's our 3-person team now. So instead of coming in this year with more asks in terms of the data team, what we wanted to do is we wanted to ask that 3-person team that really just came together this fall to do their work. And again, in 9 months to a year, we'll come back to council if there's a ask in terms of what else we need in this space. The budgets for both the mayor and the MD are relatively small, but I'm here for any questions you might have. And a few of the council members asked about hazard pay. The managing director has been the lead in terms of everything related to hazard pay, and he has kindly joined us today if there's questions about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Members, do we have, I'll start, actually, we'll have turn over the questions. I think we'll start with Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto for round 1 and then move around again. No questions? Thank you, Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. I do note that in the Managing Director's office, there's an increase of about $9 million. That's got to be from the Climate Resiliency Fund, right?
So that's correct. I think what you're looking at is the managing director's office as a whole, including OCR, and yes, that would be the Climate Resiliency Fund.
That's what I figured. And in fact, your presentation outlines exactly what the Office of Climate Change and Sustainability wants to do with that. Is that correct? Is this the slide dealing with building community capacity for emergency food preparedness, climate resilient window, hardening and energy efficient retrofit, and so on and so forth?
Chair, that's correct. When OCCSR comes up here to present, they'll share with you not only their recommendations, but also the process that they used to get to those recommendations.
You know, we spent a lot of time with Director Kawano talking about bigger picture stuff. If I could just ask you folks the same type of question. Are we looking at all at ways to generate revenue? Like the empty homes tax, or as the realtors suggested, we increase the threshold for the higher end homes and then tax them more. You know, on the Big Island, they just passed a bill. I'm not sure if the mayor signed it or not, but increasing property taxes on second homes worth over $4 million. Is that something that we can work together on figuring out?
Sure, thank you, of course. And this is something that we always work collaboratively with council on. Our shared burden is making sure that cost of living doesn't hit those who can least bear it. At the same time that we look for innovative ways to raise revenue on those, based on those who perhaps can.
I mean, my impression is that Budget and Fiscal Services doesn't want to do it because it would mean changing the way they currently do business and would add more work on them. But I think it might be worthwhile looking at possibly changing that so that we can generate revenues so that we don't have to, you know, cut equipment and whatnot.
Chair, respectfully, I don't have necessarily the same impression that BFS is unwilling to change the way they do things, but I know them to always be open to do something that's intelligence and that we can develop with the council collaboratively.
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember Cordero. Okay, Vice Chair Tupola.
Real quick, thank you very much for your presentation. In the first slide, it says to be filled by June 30th, and then the next column says to be filled by July 1, which is just 1 day apart. Do you mean that there are some positions that are going to be filled for this budget and that the remaining ones are for like a future budget? Can't be that it's the next day.
No, you're exactly right. It's not about the next day. It's about between now and then the fiscal year.
Okay, so some would be coming in the future. And then my second question, Office of the Mayor, with the contingency fund coming down 30,000, what was it used for originally? And then it's coming down for what reason, please?
Thank you for that question. So last year we had a sister city event in Hiroshima. Working with council, we put in $30,000 towards that event. It's not necessary this year.
Got it. Thank you very much for the clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. Deputy Managing Director, thank you for your clarification with regard to the federal funding capacity for the city. It's something I care deeply about, but I just want to differentiate between ask, which you explained about, and outcomes. I do believe that given the qualifications of the two individuals that have been hired, I just want to make sure that while we may be waiting for ask for the future budgets with regard to the capacity, we should not be waiting for a strategy, including short-term strategy. At the moment, we are in the throes of, Congress is in the throes of the upcoming appropriations process, and there's no reason we should not avail ourselves of that. So I just want to make clear that I do expect them to be working. It may not be the, I know they just started, but as I mentioned when we met, all the mayor has to do is query everybody to find out all of their asks, and then the mayor should be sending a package to all of the delegation members to ensure that we have a fair shot. Can individual agencies with their own lobbyists go and advocate? Of course they can. But we are in the fifth of our collective 8 years for those members who got elected along with the mayor. And I just would hate for us to lose a year on that front. And I also would say, because I did see an email trail this week last week with regard to an ask for support letters for actually an sundry of HPD priorities. I just would like to work with your team to be a little more strategic, because I think there should be priorities when you get a list like that, so the delegation would have an idea. I understand the idea of just throwing everything, the kitchen sink in there and then seeing what sticks. But I think in the role of the mayor is in a very powerful position to be able to prioritize for the delegation the priorities of the executive branch, and strategically, in particular, when it affects our districts or maybe the committees of jurisdictions, the chair and the vice chairs, we'd be more than willing to write support letters. I don't think it has to happen for everything, because that's a little too much, yeah? So anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys for at least putting the team together, but I do hope that they are not just going to be working on congressional appropriations, but also identifying and helping to advocate for discretionary funds for all of the agencies.
Councilmember, thank you for your comments. And I do want to make clear that this team is doing all of that. They're not spending this year just trying to figure things out. They're already in the throes of applying for congressional director spends. They're already in the throes of working with each individual department on their needs and needs that reflect the mayor's priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Florida Kia Aina. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo, Deputy Managing Director. Just since you brought it up, I did want to just see if there's any clarity on the THP issue that Councilmember Kia Aina and others had brought up, specifically about there possibly being folks that are eligible that didn't receive, and there was some confusion with the processing and the work of the ASOs possibly, as mentioned. And so I just wanted to see if there's any update or insight on that.
Mike Formby, Managing Director. So Councilmember Wire, maybe for the benefit of all the council members, I'll just give a little bit of history. When THP first started, our understanding was that we had to focus first on the collective bargaining agreement contracts that had temporary hazard pay provisions in them. And basically, among our first responders and government employees, there were three. It was HGEA, SHOPO, and UPW. The firefighters did not. And then council also asked that we look at bus drivers because they were front and center during COVID, and Teamsters don't have a hazard pay provision. So we looked at those, and it was pretty clear early on that there was not what we would have characterized at the time as an equitable way to distribute the money to essential city workers that were present but did not have collective bargaining agreement provisions. So we made an offer at the time that we called the whole of government offer. And the whole of government offer said basically we have 10,000 city workers. We knew it was less than that, but 10,000. And save the ones that were out on workers' comp or sick leave or some sort of administrative leave, or those that teleworked 100% of the time during COVID, we were willing to divide the total purse up, which was estimated at $150 million among all of those essential city workers. So roughly, you could ballpark that at $15,000 per essential city worker. That was the goal. And that was put out to the unions for their consideration, and two of them came back and said no. And we understood that because each individual union has a commitment to their constituency. And their constituency basically play by the terms of their collective bargaining agreement, not somebody else's, or not one that doesn't exist. So it became pretty clear that we were going to have to go through the CBAs, and we went through that with SHOPO, HGEA, and UPW, and then we came to council and also asked for the remainder of the funds to be set aside for firefighters and for Teamsters, and that's where we're at today. Basically, we have a supplemental agreement for firefighters that will go out for ratification, and we have a supplemental agreement that will go to Teamsters. How the money is paid to Teamsters will be decided between OTS and the Teamster members, but it will be by the same rules. In other words, they will not get more than $7,500 per qualified employee. And then the only other thing that's come up is that in one department, there was documentation of workers who were allowed to telework 100% of the time. And the general rule was that COVID pay was paid to people that were exposed to risk in the workplace. And if somebody was allowed to telework 100% of their time, then they weren't exposed like other essential city workers. So in one department, we've come across about 20 employees who by record were allowed, approved 100% temporary telework. And some of those workers have come back and said that they actually were in the office part of the time. And that's a very difficult thing to document in hindsight in 2026 back to 2021, 2022, but that's the process that we're in for those approximately 20 employees. There are a large number of employees that work during COVID, like I would say council staff, the mayor, my office, the administration, the appointees, appointed secretaries, prosecutor's office, corporation counsel, none of whom qualified for COVID, for THP. And so those people today remain uncompensated. And we'll be the first to say that it's not exactly a fair system, but it's a system that was constrained by the budget and constrained by a collective bargaining agreement, THP provisions. And so that's where we are today.
I appreciate that, and I understand you might not necessarily have access to all the information, because I would say that the statement that, just to backtrack, like when COVID hit, right, the Department of Community Services deemed its employees essential, right, and deemed that they'd be coming into the office, and then some divisions did allow hybrid schedules. aside from that, even folks doing hybrid work were doing contract work, right, to manage the contracts, meeting with providers, doing site visits, whether it's the isolation quarantine facility or, you know, other contracts that the city had. And then I think the staff further were confused that, or alarmed that certain folks in the department received that pay and others didn't when they're doing the same work. And then further alarmed that DHR staff, BFS staff, administrators had all interacted with these particular staff in the office, in person. And so I think people were just kind of alarmed. This is just sharing what I've heard, in case you haven't heard it. Were alarmed that there was seemingly this burden saying, oh, you haven't shown that you've been in the office. And they're like, wait, all you folks saw us in the office. Like, how are you telling us we weren't in the office and then we're not eligible? And so I think I'm hopeful that if there's clarity on that, that maybe there's a work or a path to correct it. But that's at least the information I have. And I'm not sure if that's new information for you, but just why I wanted to raise it and see if there's any clarity specifically for that group.
Okay, Councilmember, I appreciate that. I think our collective goal is to be fair across the board, and so to the extent that we can get more information and get down to confirming that people were in fact in the office, I think we'll come up with an equitable and fair solution.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mahalo, Director, or Managing Director. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you. I have a question on your 5 vacancies. Is it on the slide? It says 5 vacancies, 2.5 to be filled by contract. What are the 5 vacancies and the 2.5 to be filled? Second page. In your office.
The question is about the 5 vacancies.
Correct.
So of the 5 vacancies, 2.5 are filled by contracts. So actual vacancies is 2.5, and we intend to fill all of those by the beginning of the next fiscal year. The remaining 2.5 actual vacancies.
These are like the federal, these are people to hire for federal grants, right? Apparently, can you clarify that?
Correct. So some of them will be moving into those empty positions.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you, Councilmember Tolba. Before I go to round 2, and this might be, I was going to tag along on the questions that probably for MD based on the THP, because I did, and we've had discussions on this in the last year, but I wanted to, Managing Director, you mentioned that the supplemental agreement for the Teamsters and HFD, or did he leave? He did.
I believe he left, but I'll do my best.
Okay, was at $7,500, and I agree in the sentiments where the COVID pay should be for those who are exposed to COVID in the workplace. Some of us were at the Capitol. For some reason, the staff got it. We didn't get it as legislators. But when I think about those who are directly exposed to it, these were the HFD, HESD, HFD also, and then the bus riders. So I'm trying to understand where we came up with the $7,500. Was that just because that was residual of what was left, and why we're being told that they're not getting not more than that when others? I understand that MD mentioned it wasn't in something with a contract, like it wasn't in their agreement. But I just have pause whenever I hear that we're advocating for everybody in office space and those who were teleworking versus in person. But these are the people that were actually facing those who were sick, most times with COVID, head on. So I just wanted to know where the $7,500 came from and the cap of it.
So Budget Chair, thank you for that question. We entirely agree that the bus drivers and the firefighters were at the very forefront of responding, and they're the ones who were out there. What the managing director was sharing was that all of the other entities, SHOPO, HGA, UPW, had hazard pay provisions within their collective bargaining agreements. The Firefighters Association and then OTS did not. So they did not have a contractual obligation to this. So out of a sense of fairness and out of what you described, because they were in the forefront, this is something that the administration worked on. But it's at the same time, it's limited by what we can budgetarily afford.
So moving forward, would that be, I guess, prudent for them to have that in their contract so that they're not? I think that the discrepancy is larger, is pretty vast because that wasn't put into the contract where other departments had that in. Is that something that should be discussed between the administration? I guess that's a collective bargaining issue, but I do pause whenever I hear that we're talking about teleworkers versus office employees when these are people that have to actually go out to people with COVID and answer their house calls.
So Budget Chair, you're right. This is a collective bargaining issue, so I'll defer to DHR and BFS to, maybe we can provide you some more answers in writing.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Going to round 2, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, no, Chair Waters, Councilmember Cordero, Tupola, no. Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you. We appreciate you being here and your patience.
Thank you very much.
Members, moving on to the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services. For your information, I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you. Okay, I will back up. We will now move on to OCSSR. Is the Executive Director from OCSSR here? Okay, I'm gonna go on now to OER. Director Asselby, are you here? Because I said that she's gonna be over. Okay. Oh, okay, thank you.
Aloha. Aloha, Budget Chair Okimoto, Honorable Council Members, Kealoha Fox for the Mayor's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency, Chief Resilience Officer. Sorry about the change of the order there. Through our agency's work, we're investing in sustainability and resiliency, and we see this as an important way to protect the city and county of Honolulu through our experience of climate change impacts now and in the future. Mahalo for the opportunity to share a few highlights for our proposed operating budget today. On the next slide, thank you. This table provides a summary of CCSR's operating budget as well as the Climate Resiliency Fund recommendations for FY27. In this presentation, I'll walk through both segments, the top and the bottom, to make sure that I provide you details for both. Up top, I have strong confidence in the office's total operating budget request at $1.6 million, which is $5,300 less than the FY26 appropriation that you approved last year. This proposal reflects our continued commitment to fiscal discipline while also strengthening our city's availability and capacity to deliver on our climate and resiliency responsibilities. Right now, CCSR currently includes exempt appointees as follows: 16 full-time positions through general funds and personnel services contracts, 2 federally funded positions, 1 philanthropically funded position, and several fellows on contract through various partnerships across the University of Hawaii system. Under Ordinance 20-47, these positions directly support the city's climate mitigation, adaptation, and resiliency actions, ensuring our compliance with the mandates established by you as council. There is no budgeted overtime for CCSR. A key structural adjustment in this proposal is our reallocation of $138,000 from current expenses to salaries, while keeping the overall budget level from FY26 with that slight decrease that I mentioned. Historically, CCSR relied heavily on contract services through 3004. This is something that we've addressed this year through our fiscal discipline, and we see that building internal capacity is essential for us to be more sustainable and to bring cost benefits directly into the city, improve our accountability, and also make sure that we're doing our best to leverage outside funding for as many projects and initiatives that we can. We're operating with strong fiscal and staffing stability right now. We only have 1 actual vacancy. It's the Deputy Director position that I vacated in December 2025. Recruitment's in its final stages, and we look to fill the position in April of this year. Next slide. Sorry, we can go back one more. The bottom section of this is our administration's recommendation to council for your consideration of the Climate Resiliency Fund at $1.357 million. This is a new insertion and direct action that we've learned by meeting with you and hearing from your perspectives and gained feedback on the FY26 Climate Resiliency Fund process in Ordinance 25-23. With your help, instead of separate resolutions, what we have here today is we've listened to your recommendations and we've inserted the request into the operating budget. We see that this alignment has brought several key features that I wanted to highlight, and we thank you, Council, for your sage advice over the past few months. The first is that Mayor and BFS teams have improved our clarity around this new special fund and our ability to include it with CCSR's budget submission. The second is that departments have now successfully integrated project proposals for their Climate Resiliency Fund request into the regular operating budget cycle. This is an opportunity for us to reduce duplication of efforts and also identify project funding gaps. The third is that CCSR has established an evaluation committee, scoring rubric, and supporting tools to ensure transparency and formalize clear processes for you and to make sure that our reporting going forward has these protocols in place. In later slides, I will go through the Climate Resiliency Fund portfolio, but first I'll start with the operating budget request in the next one. At present, 2 of our full-time staffing positions are supported through active federal grants. As you might recall, CCSR had 1 grant-funded position that was impacted by an unexpected termination by the Environmental Protection Agency in FY26. We continue to responsibly draw down from our current funding, ensuring full compliance and our grant requirements across our office. We remain proactive, and we're looking at pursuing external funds at all times. We've created and implemented a comprehensive funding strategy that we use for all of our projects and our project teams, and we're very aware of all of the current constraints that federal climate opportunities present our office to deal with. Our programs and projects remain fully aligned with our mission. They require no corrective action, and none of our projects require CIP at this time. Next slide. CCSR has consistently leveraged, at times, a 1-to-3 match in external funding for every city dollar entrusted with us. This has included private, state, federal grants, contracts, intergovernmental agreements, and philanthropic grants as well. These support CCSR and our partners, and it also strengthens our capacity to achieve our project priorities. Like I said, we are achieving new funding priorities through our new funding strategy, and we are working in collaboration with numerous state and city agencies and foundations right now to see how we can bring significant new resources into the city. With Council's continued support, internal capacity, such as the 2 listed here under the CPIRG and EECBG grants, will continue, but also increase our ability to pursue this momentum, leveraging strong intergovernmental partnership agreements and expanding funding outside of the city. I'll now shift to our CCSR recommendations for the Climate Resiliency Fund. As described by Director Kawano this morning, part of CCSR's responsibility is the administering and the management of the Climate Resiliency Fund. Thank you, Council, for Bill 15 in 2025, and you're codifying the Climate Resiliency Fund into the revised ordinances through Resolution 25-204 and Resolution 25-221. 3 core areas are here in the fund and outlined for the overall category scopes for FY27 investment. The first is city departmental projects. The second are externally directed initiatives, and the third are the administrative expenses not to exceed 5% of the overall total. Respectively, each of these represent 59, 36, and 5% of the application of about 100% of the available funding for FY27's use. On the next slide, I'll walk you through the summary in detail for item number 1. We'll start with the city departmental projects. Administration is recommending 59% of the FY27 available special funds for climate resiliency to be directed to city departmental projects who stand ready to meet the objectives. Last fall, CCSR launched a new process and protocols. We received 21 proposals through an internal city competitive process. The 5-person CRF evaluation committee scored 20 completed projects with a requested amount totaling $9 million for FY27. Presented here are the 16 Climate Resiliency Fund projects that form a cohesive portfolio across 11 agencies totaling $5.5 million. The names of each project and their recommended funding amount are listed for your review. We're confident that these initiatives collectively represent significant investments in facility green retrofits, food sustainability, community gardening, youth action, in-language communication, emergency preparedness, shoreline protection, urban analysis, multimodal streets, CRB mitigation, stormwater modeling, services for kupuna, and so much more. Project completion timelines range from 9 months to about 30 months, and we're investing in all council districts. Many initiatives foster brand new governmental agreements in collaboration with strengthening community partnerships. These projects will not just start, they will also be encumbered within 1 year, and our goal is to complete them within the next 2 years and 10 months. In the next slide, our administration is recommending 36% of the fiscal year 27 available special funds for climate resiliency to be directed and targeted to 3 project investments that support the purposes of the fund for work to be completed outside of city departments. This slide outlines the 3 core areas that make up externally directed initiatives. The first is residential energy and resilience retrofits. The second is household conversion, financial assistance, and the third is contracts with nonprofit organizations to be managed by a third party. Of the 36% outlined here, we see that these 3 projects break down as follows: 47%, 29%, and then 24%. As a reminder, the Climate Resiliency Fund utilized procurement and fiscal mechanisms to expend funds and is not able to solicit any public applications at this time. We continue to explore sustaining new solutions through a charter amendment. In closing, the Mayor's Office of Climate Change Sustainability and Resiliency thanks you for your help to help us strengthen and increase our work. I'll take any questions that you have at this time, Budget Chair and honorable council members.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Fox. We will start round 1 with Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Hi, Director and Dr. Kealoha Fox. Thank you very much for being here. Sorry, I didn't mean to say your whole name. Just one question. I didn't see anything in your budget, in the budget book, or anything relating to the firm FEMA maps. Are we doing all that efforts just in this current fiscal year, and we're going to be POW after that?
Great question. Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. We do have that budgeted in FY26, including our community engagement and outreach efforts. We budget for that every single year, but this is important for us because the maps will go live on June 10th, 2026, and so it is core to our work with DPP to make sure that we're doing that work now to spread the information and make sure that our presentations, our materials are reaching as many of the 3,500 residents. And thank you for your help to make sure that that information has gone out through sources like social media, newsletters, neighborhood boards, so on and so forth.
Thank you, and it's been a joy to work with you to make sure that happens too. Thank you, and thank you for answering that. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Thank you. Aloha, thank you for being here. So when your first 2 slides say federal funded grants, you're saying that this is money not in our budget, but federally funded for Planner 5 for climate pollution reduction grant and energy efficiency and conservation block program grant?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to the next page when it says city departmental projects at the 5.5 million. This is what's outlined in the following page, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then the externally directed initiatives is the following page. Sorry, I wish there was like page numbers and you were saying some good percentages. You're like, this is 36 of that. And I mean, if anything, next time put the percentages near here because I think that's will help us understand that we're taking 36%. We're doing it here, but I did hear what you were saying. And then, of course, I understand the administrative directives. So going to the slide that delineates the departmental ones, you know, you did bring up the resolutions last year, specifically, I think 25204 was one of them and another one. So we're replacing the whole resolution movement with outlined things that kind of represent what we do with the GIA, graded projects, using categories or a rubric or a curriculum whereby we know that these are shovel-ready or very soon to be ready projects that will be executed, correct?
Yes, Councilmember Tupola, what we've done is we've created an evaluation rubric that was shared across the entire committee. It was scored individually and then as the aggregate of the committee. And so I'd be happy to share a couple of those areas with you that are in the rubric, but part of that is their demonstrated ability to start now and to make sure that that fund can be encumbered within the same fiscal year, so by June 30th, 2027, as you mentioned, and then their catalytic value. Is this something that we can make sure that we're impacting on within the 2 years and 10 months that we have? We wanna make sure that the projects are not only started in FY27, but we wanna make sure that these projects are also completed.
Thank you. And you did mention that it was across 11 agencies, and then later in your presentation, you said it's in all districts. Specifically, it's hard to know which ones hit all districts, but I think if you disclose with us all the homework that you did on this, then we can at least take that into consideration. One of my concerns is that this is funding similar to Clean Water Natural Land that's going to start to balloon up, so we should have a clear way that we're going to distribute it. That's great. However, I don't want us to just start picking projects, and yes, we need them to be ready and such, but we need to also align this with projects that we have that might be a priority for us. And I understand that these were priorities for the department, so I'll be looking into that. Are you going to send that communication with how these were chosen to the chair that we can maybe read through it?
I'd be happy to, Councilmember Tupola, and not only do we have the council district breakdowns, but we're also tracking the neighborhoods within your council district breakdown as well. For your example, you have a project with HFD inserted here as a line item. It would impact Makakilo and also Nanakuli, and so what you'll see in that line item is our ability to report to you the neighborhood specifics, so you can see exactly who in your geographic region is going to be impacted. And then I also just wanted to take this opportunity to respond, Councilmember Tupola, that part of what the evaluation committee also reviewed is how some of these projects will increase island-wide support. Many of the projects in here are going to target multiple neighborhoods and multiple districts. They're labeled as island-wide because they want to make sure that what they do really well in one area is able to be learned and then spread across to other districts as well. And so I'll make sure that that information is submitted to Budget Chair and then available to you folks. Great recommendations.
I like your specificity, very good. Last page, where it says house pool, cesspool conversion, financial assistance, who's distributing that?
Great question, Council Member. So this is one that was inserted firstly in the FY26 monies, as you recall. The initial idea was potentially could the city work with the Hawaii State Department of Health. They have a cesspool conversion grant program that was mandated by the legislature for 5 years. However, in our discussions with them over several months, that program is no longer in operation. And so right now, what we're doing is we're looking at potential collaborations through support of House Bill 1618 with the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority, and that's led by Gwen Yamamoto Lau. There's a proposal in there for HGIA to have a revolving loan fund for cesspool conversions. The way that that loan fund is set up could be anything from low to 100%. This is something that we're actually really excited by, and so we won't be able to move forward with the Department of Health. We're very excited to find a potential avenue with HGIA.
No, I was just going to suggest work with Gwen because she does the residential energy and retrofits, so why not put that together? Yes, yes, I am for that. There are a lot of people that need that assistance, and if they didn't have it, they would not convert over the cesspool. So without this assistance, it was nice that the ledge passed the law, but no funding means no behavior change, so this is positive. Lastly, contracts with nonprofit organizations managed by a third party. Who's third party?
Yes, so in this case, we're pulling from Bill 15, and so there's an area in here for contracts with nonprofit entities to support and advance climate resiliency activities, leveraging state, federal, and private funds. These programs are listed to include so many different opportunities for us. We think that this is a great strategy for us because, as you know, we're not able to list our RFPs right now specific to nonprofits, but we could do an RFP process for a nonprofit or a contracted entity to work with us to find a mechanism for nonprofits and small businesses and other for-profit businesses to potentially benefit from this. While we don't have that charter amendment passed, we are staying really close to the charter amendment process to see if our climate resiliency fund might be able to be excluded.
So third party has not been chosen, but maybe this is a RFP with the ability to distribute to nonprofits, correct?
You're exactly right, Councilmember Tupolo.
Thorough, very thorough, Dr. Fox. Great job.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. I also wanted to just echo the same sentiments. It's kind of exciting because now you have a stream of funding. Thank you, Chair Waters, for this idea, the Climate Resiliency Fund. I remember I was even skeptical because I thought it should be broken out throughout the executive branch, but it's actually helpful for your kuleana. And I can just see with the diversity of projects that it's a little different from last year. You guys had more time, so bravo for that. I wanted to thank you first of all with regard to working on the mangrove removal project for last fiscal year. I understand from BFS that you still need to work out some kinks, but I'm looking forward to that getting out to the nonprofit organizations in Kailua so that we could start the mangrove removal project. And I also appreciate Waimanalo, MOCA's proposal for an Ahupua'a-based system to be part of this year's budget. I do see a lot of invasive species, which I greatly appreciated, and I wanted to ask you to work with me. I know I have broached it with DPR, but I think your capacity might be helpful because I am working on developing a cooperative agreement between the city, and DOD's Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program. And the reason, of course, is it would be a non-competitive funding stream over 5 years. And even with the decrease in funding, it's still a good program. And invasive species management was going to be a part of it. So all I'm saying is that while we do have a funding stream, we need to continue to be creative in looking for other funding streams. And since there is an interest on the part of the program to make this happen, maybe you can kokua. I have a template for the cooperative agreement, and I just need you to help DPR with getting it to the finish line, because what it could do, if we're successful, it could decrease the demand for some of these projects on this funding stream so you can fund other stuff. And lastly, I'm sorry we weren't able to meet Friday, but I'd like to meet with you after these budget hearings. I would like, as we prepare our budgetary amendments, I like the majority of these, but I need to know more about some of these other projects. So I would like a breakdown of the department for each of these projects and a narrative, as well as for the other one on the third page. For all of the departments in the future, you might want to number your pages so we can better talk about which page we're looking at. But it's the following page. After you have all of the projects, you have the one with the three. It says externally directed initiatives. I'd like to know specifically as well what agency is handling that. And so I look forward to meeting with you, but good job.
Thank you. Budget Chair, is it a permission that I just respond?
Yes, by all means, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Kia Aina. As for regards to the FY26 mangrove project, thank you so much for affirming that. I'm still working with BFS on the procurement side. We really want to make sure that the ability for us to reach the nonprofits, as you've directed, is part of how the RFP is worded and scoped and posted. We have actually an RFP in the scope of work completely ready, and so we want to move on this month. We don't want to run risk of lapsing those funds by June 30th, and so your continued support of this project means a lot for us to make sure that we don't delay in the days and the efforts that come to make sure that that is done before June. For the second one, I also just wanted to highlight, in addition to the two projects that you highlighted for your council district, our climate champions that's listed in the full table, two of those projects will also be specific to Windward, Oahu in your district, and potentially Chair Waters's, because we do also have matching funds from the Harold K. Castle Foundation, and they're very interested in making sure that this is a public-private partnership, and so we have ensured that in that RFP process, again, hopefully for nonprofits to be able to bid and benefit lawfully, that nonprofits in the Windward side, all the way through Waimanalo, would be eligible for those. And then I just also wanted to, please, I do very much want to take you up on your offer to work directly with you on any federal funding opportunities. We are working with the Department of Defense through the OLDCC on, this is now our second grant with them, with Dr. Chip Flesher through SOEST at the University of Hawaii. We'd be happy to work with you on the RUPI template. And then meeting with you, we'll provide you folks details for the project forms that we have. We now have project initiation and project planning forms that every project lead shares with us, and then it's also shared with their cabinet members and BFS, so that we're all tracking the same information with you going forward. This is how we hope to show transparency and open communication to you folks quarterly and annually, so that you get a sound reporting from the Climate Resiliency Fund going forward. So thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina, for all of these recommendations. We really are taking them to heart.
Great job. I'm looking forward to you selecting your deputy director, because you guys are going to be even more awesome. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina. Councilmember Wire. Okay. Councilmember Toba, Councilmember Nishimoto. Nope. Okay, and finally Chair Waters. Okay. Thank you. I don't think we have any further questions. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. We are so thankful. I know in our communication, it's been a really nice transition. I'm grateful that you took the role and took the reins and have worked really well in making sure that you answer our questions and hear our input, but also taking on the hard task, especially with the Resiliency Fund. So thank you. And we'll continue to have the discussion, seeing, I think, no further discussion with Director Fox. Okay. And members at Kalamaya, I have multiple lists in front of me, and I was under the impression or understanding that we needed to have MOCA at the end of the agenda, but I know Director Santos is here, so I'm gonna kind of forego the list that was in my script and go based on what the MD's office had in the slides to avoid any further confusion on the order. So I will now turn the time over to the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts. And with this, we have Executive Director Jennifer Santos. Thank you, Director Santos.
Thank you, Budget Chair Okimoto. Aloha mai kauko, Budget Chair, Chair Waters, members of the Honorable Council. My name is Jennifer Santos. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts. To ground today's request, I mentioned that MOCA is leanly resourced compared to similar benchmark cities with a population close to that of Oahu, of about 1 million. We are at 0.7 FTE per 100,000 residents, which lies within 50 to 70% of our peers. Our budget is about 100,000 per 100,000 residents, which is within the range of 25 to 33% of our peers. With that context, today's request represents an opportunity to strengthen and expand capacity for our communities with a proposed budget increase. Mahalo for the opportunity to present MOCA's FY27 budget request. Today, I'll address authorized FTE, salaries, and current expenses. A brief mention that the 2 vacancies that were shown on MDO's overview chart are reflective of a transition that we were in at the time that the numbers were run. Currently, we have 1 vacancy that is in final stages and expected to be filled within the next 2 weeks. That will leave us with 0 vacancies, as the second one was filled earlier last week, and that person is currently in role. Moving on to salaries. We have a modest adjustment request that ensures competitive, equitable compensation for a program and operations manager. This is a new role within MOCA that is responsible for program oversight, culture and arts activations, and citywide programming. The request increase projects leadership stability, operational continuity, and an uninterrupted program delivery, a preventative resource investment of less than 1%. For current expenses, the number reflected is a culmination of an in and a couple of outs, or I'm sorry, 1 out and 2 additional asks. The out is a transfer of the budget for Honolulu City Lights that will be going to the Department of Facilities Management. DFM has been overseeing the lead for that for a couple of fiscals now, and so it is more clean for them to manage the funding directly. The remaining balance is attributed to 2 initiatives that we are proposing. The first being public art maintenance, and the second being a city culture and arts incubator. The public art maintenance is an allocation that reflects a request to take us above what has been a consistently steady budget number for more than 2 administrations. This number that we currently have only allows allocation for about half of the percentage of the entirety of the city's public art collection. We run the risk, if we continue to operate at this moderate budget, with potentially having artworks deteriorate and have higher costs that will be inflicted over time. The current budget also does not reflect the expansion of the public art collection, nor does it account for inflation of costs for some of the resources that are needed in order to maintain the condition at par. The second item is the City Culture and Arts Incubator. This increase supports the activation of a vacant city-owned facility, specifically now in Chinatown, as a culture and arts incubator. This is a proposed pilot that we will utilize as a proof of concept to gather insights, and the intention is to replicate this model across all of the districts across the Mokupuni of Oahu. The 3 things that this pilot will focus on is being able to provide mentorship and business development for creative artisans and practitioners. The second is to deliver public workshops, performances, and exhibitions. The third is to engage residents, schools, and neighborhood organizations, as well as the businesses that are surrounding the dormant space. The idea is that MOCA will track programs delivered, attendance, partnerships, economic impact, and other insights with the intention of replacing this model, or I'm sorry, replicating this model again across the entire Mokupuni. This is, of course, in partnership with Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, intercity departments such as DHLM, OAR, CCSR, and DPR, as well as other community-led organizations. Again, this initiative will be transforming underutilized city space into civic and economic value, allowing us the opportunity to strengthen cultural identity and provide local practitioners accessible space and resources to retain talent here on Oahu. In closing, MOCA's FY27 request responds to Council's priorities and inquiries, while reflecting responsible stewardship and strategic growth for our office by doing 4 things. 1, protecting operational stability of our office. 2, preserving public art assets that the city has already invested in. 3, expanding equitable cultural access and resources, especially for underserved communities. And 4, activating vacant city infrastructure in a way that is purposeful, intentional, and meaningful for our communities. Each component maximizes the return on existing city investment while creating new opportunities. We look forward to executing the initiatives and working with council to better grow and integrate them in the years ahead. Mahalo nui for your consideration and support. I welcome your questions and comments at this time.
Thank you very much, Director Santos. Members, we will start with round one of questions with Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Thank you so much. Just for clarification, thank you for being here. On the 39.95% increase on current expenses, does that relate to the two things you brought up with public art maintenance and incubator? Is that
Yes,
where?
that is correct. There is one other item, Councilmember Tupola, which is the deficit of the funding for Honolulu City Lights, which is being transferred to the Department of Facilities Management.
Oh, so that money was with you guys and now it's not going to be?
Correct.
Oh, okay, so there's a change there too. And then in regards to the specificity of the two programs, is it in the slides that you sent over?
It is.
Okay, all right, I'll read into that more. I apologize we didn't get more time to talk, and I will read through your presentation, and thank you for your work.
You're welcome, and no problem at all.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you for meeting with me twice already. And appreciate you working with our Waimanalo community for the climate change project in my district. I did want to commend you for your strategic plan. And for those who haven't seen it yet, I actually asked her who did it, because strategic plans take cost a lot of money, and that's her expertise. So she reminded me when she first started with that background. At first, I didn't know, the skill sets that would be brought by that, but I think you've done an excellent job. As the executive director, I've seen you pound the pavement, and I've actually heard from the stakeholders in our communities, including our Hawaiian community, that they feel that you've been doing an excellent job since your tenure. So just wanted to thank you and to stay the course. I did mention, and I mentioned to the OER director, that I hope that you could be part of the steering committee for the Oahu Tourism Strategic Plan, because I believe that you would be a valued asset for that process. So anyway, that's all. No questions. Just thank you for your hard work.
Thank you so much for your commentary. It means a lot to me, Councilmember Kia Aina, to have that validation of support. It would be foolish for MOCA to impose our will upon the things that are important for our communities. It is very much our role as a vessel, as a conduit, to co-design these initiatives together with you folks, and we will continue to do the work moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina. Councilmember Toba. Okay. Chair Waters. No? Okay. Second round? Okay. Really quick, I want to thank you also. Thank you for your efforts in trying to meet with me in my office. I apologize we haven't been able to sit down specifically, but I really appreciate your efforts and your patience. Just for my reference, you did mention, and I know that there have been some suggestions along the way, like page numbers. You mentioned the 4 items. Could that have been put into the slide as well? If not, then you mentioned the 4 things, preserving the artwork, activating the infrastructure or areas. Could you either repeat that or have that submitted to my office?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do both if that's something that you'd like to hear now.
No, that's okay. If you can, I think the members, I think we're good. If you could just maybe submit that to my office, I'd appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions for the director of MOCA, members, again, we are going to follow the rest of the slideshows placed on the overhead here. So next will be the Office of Economic Revitalization. Thank you, Director Santos.
Thank you so much.
Is it on there? Oh, okay. Sorry. Aloha and good afternoon, Director Asabai.
Good afternoon, Budget Chair and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present on our FY27 budget today. My name is Amy Asselby, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Economic Revitalization. We appreciate the Council's support of the work of OER. Still a relatively new agency, we are creating more small businesses and entrepreneurs. We're investing in local agriculture. We're establishing a more regenerative model of tourism. We are updating workforce training, and we are driving economic innovation. UHERO's recent economic update has shown that our recovery from economic downturns tends to be slower and more fragile than the rest of the nation. This highlights the critical need for OER's work on local economic strategies and stewardship. That's slide. On this first slide, this includes both OER and the Honolulu Film Office salaries and current expenses combined. So if you start from the top row, the authorized FTE, for FY 2027, authorized positions include 21 OER and 3 HFO staff. We also have 3 positions that were council added last year and 1.5 FTEs that are externally funded from the U.S. Economic Development Administration and the Ulupono initiatives. 3 positions remain stable at the Honolulu Film Office, and OER reduces 1 data strategist and 3 immigrant service contract positions that were added by the council in FY25 and FY26. On the second row, salaries, OER and HFO salaries make up $2,054,684 of the budget, of which $1,774,968 is for OER and $247,020 is for the Honolulu Film Office. The 40% change in general fund salaries is due to the shift from using federal pandemic relief funds for OER staff and moving that to general funds, as well as accounting for collective bargaining increases. On the fourth row, you'll see current expenses. The FY27 current expenses remain flat for OER at $463,669 and $130,000 for the Honolulu Film Office, for a combined total of $593,669 in operating expenses. In FY26, there was a one-time addition of $150,000 to OER for the Oahu Tourism Strategic Plan from Councilmember Kia Aina. That plan will be completed by the end of this calendar year. Next slide, please. On this slide, we want to share generally that we have been working with a grants contractor funded by pandemic relief funds. That grants contractor abilities has been extended to all the managing director's office to improve the city's ability to bring in additional revenue to the city through the successful award of competitive federal and private funding. So the investment you make in OER staff is being exponentially realized through our continued focus on competitive grant funding. Presently, there is over $2 million in awarded or pending external grants. External funding that has been secured for FY27 includes, and we're very excited to say, a new $400,000 earmark from Senator Schatz. This funding will assist small businesses by scaling programs like the city's first business incubator, Idea to Biz, through funding to the 80+ nonprofits that provide technical assistance through our Oahu Business Connector. Second, through the Department of Commerce, they provide funding via the state, for which OER is providing $186,000 in technical assistance support to help businesses apply for federal loans over the next 2 years. This project provides access to capital, and this is the highest priority need expressed every single day by the small businesses that our Oahu Business Connector outreach team talks to. This project will continue through early 2029. A related new program kickoff this year will be the city's first ever small business loan fund. We're excited that it will create the pipeline to bankability for many small businesses that are currently unable to attain commercial loans. Additional funds received include $200,000 from the U.S. Economic Development Administration to directly support business disaster resiliency. We have learned from the disaster in Lahaina, and we want to make sure that Oahu businesses are going to be open, providing services to the community, and paying staff as quickly as possible after any type of disaster. I also wanted to mention the those numerous pending grant proposals for next fiscal year. We have 2 pending proposals with the USDA and another $50,000 urban agroforestry grant. As well, we're happy to have applied for a joint project with MOCA for community placemaking via the National Endowment for the Arts. So to conclude, OER's role is to help build a more resilient and locally rooted economy for Honolulu. Through partnerships across city departments and with the private and nonprofit sectors, we are launching innovative programs, such as I mentioned, the city's first small business loan fund, expanding farm to family access through the Stations of Abundance farmers markets at Skyline, and we're looking forward to piloting the activation of vacant city retail spaces in areas like Chinatown. At a time when economic recovery in Hawaii remains slower and more fragile than the rest of the nation, OER helps the city to take a proactive approach to strengthening local businesses, supporting local agriculture, and creating new economic opportunities. We really appreciate the council's partnership and continued investment in this work, and we look forward to working together to ensure that every person on the island of Oahu has the opportunity to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Asabai. Members, we'll start with our first round of questions. I believe this round we will start with Flor Lear Kia Aina.
Can you move down and then I'll go last? I'm still developing my questions. Thank you.
That's fine. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the presentation and, of course, all the work that OER does. I was just curious, could you give us an update on the status of the Quinny Equity Liaison positions and how they factor into the budget and the administration's position going forward in terms of that discussion? And maybe if you're able to, you could open with just a snippet of the work that they do. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire, and thank you for your previous years of support for these positions. Because these positions were added as a council proviso, they are not reflected in our FTE count. And so that is why they are not in this budget this year, and yet, as an honestly acknowledged oversight, our leadership in BFS and with the Managing Director's Office intends to work with Budget Chair Okimoto to try to identify some resources so we can cover those 3 positions in FY27 per the Council's approval. The office's Community Equity Liaison Program has 2 goals. One is to increase the awareness, trust, and utilization of city services among historically underserved communities. So while we have focused on the immigrant community in the past, we're also working with the Native Hawaiian community via our new hire as a liaison to Native Hawaiian individuals and organizations. Number 2, their goal is to expand access to workforce and economic opportunities that strengthen household stability and long-term prosperity for historically underserved communities. And those priorities have really come out of over a year of being out there, conducting programs, working with community, and getting that feedback and assessment from them as to what our immigrant and Native Hawaiian communities most need in terms of thriving economically on this island.
I appreciate that. And all 3 positions are currently filled with live bodies, with staff.
That is correct.
Okay, mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Councilmember Toba, Chair Waters. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, thank you, Councilmember Wire, for bringing that up, because actually on Saturday, I was at the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints on Kalihi Street, and a lot of people came up and asked me that. I was like, oh, I was not prepared, and I didn't realize when we had our meeting that it was an oversight. So thank you for sharing that. I will have to just let those people and organizations that came up to me on Saturday know about that. Thank you. So I do have a question relating to the Stay Open Oahu. So did that shift from COVID efforts to then disaster management or disaster support for businesses?
The names, I think, sound
okay.
familiar.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, sorry, I can't remember the name of the program.
Yeah.
But yes, we were helping to promote and implement how the city's requirement for the vaccine cards at restaurant and other establishments would work. This is a completely new program developed with the knowledge that we've gained from the disaster in Lahaina and other work we've done with related city departments like DEM and CCSR to play our role in the city's disaster management, which is to make sure that businesses ahead of time know what they need to do to be prepared in the event of a disaster. And we hope to be able to provide, through some other competitive funding, resources and or grants for them to actually fulfill those needs before we encounter the next flood, hurricane, wildfire, et cetera.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And so that's only at, during events of possible catastrophe, not catastrophe, but like flood events like that, right? Not really reoccurring events like, you know, in Mapunapuna, all the businesses that are affected with the rise in sea level, as well as just flooding in general in that area. It won't really help businesses that are facing those type of things?
It should help in that situation and any that come up. So as we kick off this program, we will be conducting workshops around the island and creating, you know, pamphlets, social media, and other information in coordination with DEM to make sure that the small businesses on our island have access to some of the simple things that they can do immediately, and then some of the long-term things that they need to think about in terms of their disaster resiliency. Related to that, we're adding a new page to our Oahu Business Connector website, so we can use that site for requests for support from small businesses, as well as providing support from business to business or from government to business through that website as a connector, as it says in the name. So the funding is really helping to kick off and build the website and the workshops and the collateral. But for the long term, we believe this is a part of our mission.
Thank you. Director, I was also wondering with the FY27 request for personal services contract positions with 2 million, almost like or halfway to 2.1 million, with a $62,000 increase, or maybe $62,000 increase. I was wondering if that's including the consultants that you're utilizing to execute the numerous programs that OER is fostering.
No, those numbers are only our staff. The increase is reflected in taking that chunk of funds from pandemic relief that funded our staff, as well as collective bargaining. So our staff count has remained the same over the last 3 fiscal years, I believe. But we're finally, you know, coming up to the end of the federal pandemic relief, and as was the plan with the managing director, to generally shift full-time positions into the general fund.
Where in the budget or line item reports would we see budgeting for certain consultants that then help effectuate the different programs work within OER?
So they're in 2 places. One, they're in our current operating expenses for programs that we might operate with general funds. And then number 2, with all the federal or competitive funds that I mentioned, they will budget for those. They will budget for consultants and others that they might work with through those federal or private grant funds.
Okay, thank you, Director. Thank you for that clarification, and mahalo, Budget Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Thank you. Aloha, thank you for being here. You know, in our last committee where the commission reported and shared with us the efforts that they have and that they want to activate vacant parcels, et cetera, you know, they brought up a specific bill or bills that they were pursuing. And I was kind of taken aback because really I feel like Bill or policy movement really should be yourself as the director and with the other departments, because I wouldn't expect the commissioners to know all the intricacies of why things are being held up or what other departments have to help with. So one of the main things that I've brought up, and I'll bring it up again today, is OER's one of their main responsibilities is to coordinate economic policy across departments. Like, what other departments are going to be effectuating change in economic growth, or maybe even like deficits for business. So have you, as the director, identified like what are your major 3 departments that you guys have to work with on a daily basis to help businesses succeed as part of your plan for OER?
Yes, and I think we're also growing that portfolio of businesses that we can work with. As was identified in the audit, it is a very expansive role for OER. And while our agency started during the pandemic, that focus was on economic recovery and resiliency. We hope to expand over time our ability, along with a very esteemed commission, to grow those connections and impact. Today, I would say our closest work is probably with, as you mentioned, DHLM on Bill 35. We have also worked very closely with CCSR, DTS, and the Department of Parks and Recreation as we've developed this larger portfolio with agriculture. So this last year has really started to clear up where we're going, what the programs we will be running in the area of sustainable agriculture and food systems can be and will be, and we're excited to execute, hopefully within the next couple of months, $500,000 in farmers markets over the next 2 years at rail stations in Honolulu. So that requires a lot of coordination and a lot of shared philosophy about what we're trying to do at those stations in terms of supporting people in terms of food access, but also that focus on local farmers and local agriculture.
Has your decision to partner or do projects with the aforementioned departments been based off of data that you found from businesses as they've said those are the needs that they have? And if so, what data or report are you referring to when you were able to determine that those were the best things to help businesses?
It's a combination of both things. Ability to work together and a shared opportunity in terms of like where DTS is in their work in terms of stations of abundance. But also we conducted a survey with 1,000 businesses with UHERO via the support of our commission last year. And those 1,000 small businesses identified exactly what we've been hearing every single day when our Oahu Business Connectors go out and talk to businesses, which is number 1, access to capital, which no one else in this city is doing but OER, and why we are establishing the Small Business Loan Fund. Number 2 is hiring and staffing continues to be a major issue for them. And then this one kind of changes and we think has changed over time, but it's supply chain due to tariffs. And so those are the 3 primary issues that small businesses have been struggling with. And so we do take both into account, both the data, but also our working relationships and the readiness of other city agencies and nonprofits to work with us. We have a very close working relationship with the Small Business Administration. We have what they call a co-sponsorship agreement. So we conduct monthly workshops out at Kapolei Hale with the SBA. So I would say that ongoing collaboration continues, and we hope to grow our work to be able to work with DPP and others more closely as we understand how food access can be better integrated into city planning and city development.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because I do think that like food access is important, but it's not necessarily what businesses have been telling me. I think in general, the 1,000 businesses you guys surveyed is a really good start. 1,000 businesses is a very good sampling size. There's 40,000 businesses, 45,000 about on this island. But I would say that, you know, coordinating across departments, especially with DPP, because so many businesses are waiting on permits and that permitting is actually driving up their bottom line. Like, I really would love for OER to kind of stay more broad instead of being so in-depth, because we can make way more influence in coordinating with our departments than running small programs that SBA can run or Chamber of Commerce can run or Kapolei Chamber of Commerce can run, because nobody else gets to sit in cabinet meetings except for you. And so I think that you have a power, a leverage, right? That you can kind of like, okay, guys, this is actually what's hurting businesses, what you guys are doing. So I'm going to speak up. And then secondarily, a big part of OER is supposed to be advising us on policy. Like how are we as policymakers supposed to better affect change to kind of stimulate the economy and what we're doing? But I've not seen any annual reports. I've not gotten any suggestions like from you guys to us saying like, hey, these are the top 5 policies. And even when the 2 bills were brought up in the hearing, Bill 10 and 35, I believe, like there was no push from you guys to say like, this is how we determine these are the 2 bills that need to be passed, or even strategizing with us on policy. And I know that it suggested that in the audit, that you guys kind of focus more on strategy, right? Which both commissioners said they're gonna work on a strategic plan. But for me, it's really important that you guys stay in that area where nobody else gets to stay, which is leveraging different departments, advising us as policymakers on better policy decisions, or even testifying against things if you want, for things, against things that you're like, hey, this is hurting businesses. Like, to me, that's where you guys are gonna have the biggest bang for the buck in your department. Economic diversification, what you guys are trying to do with farmers, you're doing some, and then of course the filmmaking, and then connecting with outside economic partners, that you're already doing that, but definitely identifying regulatory barriers that are affecting businesses. Those are the kind of things where I feel like really you guys are like one of a kind. Only you guys could do that, because you see all of the different things we're handling in the city that we could essentially change, from how we license to how we do CDLs, because it affects all of our drivers. Like, those are the kind of things that I really want you guys to kind of focus in on, because I think that's really what OER was intended to do, was advise city departments, advise us on policy, create economic strategy, and some of what Chair Waters said today about generating revenue, how do we help people? Like, nobody is doing that, so that could be something that you guys do, right? Is that economic stimulation, which I haven't heard, because you guys are very much trying to execute a lot of small programs, which is nice, but I think staying in the pocket would be great.
Thank you, and we appreciate all the feedback. We look forward to continuing to work with you. We do think that the programs that we are doing, whether it's Good Jobs, increasing the salaries of thousands of households by on average $7,000, as well as a new initiative, which we're halfway through, called the Regulatory Justice Initiative, and I'm excited to share the results of that with you, which is looking at the regulatory burden on small businesses here on this island specifically. There is a state small business regulatory review board that this is their responsibility overall for the state, but this initiative we took on in a cohort of 6 other cities around the country. And so we're at the stage we've discovered for certain types of retail and food establishments here, there's anywhere from 46 to 68 steps that a business has to go through. A few of them are city steps that we have within our means to affect, and many others sit with the jurisdiction of the state in their regulation of small businesses. And so I think where we're going with in coordination with our commission, lobbying for local business procurement preference, which we can implement here in the city and county of Honolulu, but needs the authority of the state procurement office, is moving in the direction that you're talking about. I appreciate all the feedback. I will continue to appreciate all the feedback, and hopefully we can have more dialogue as we continue to work on the initiatives and some of the things specifically you mentioned today.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have some comments. I mentioned this in our meeting, but I have to. It pains me that I'm going to have to say this now, but as someone who has been a strong supporter of OER, and as someone who has not just initiated but funded 3 initiatives during my tenure, one for the agricultural grants, one for the tourism plan for Oahu and COVID death benefits. It is concerning to me about the communication or lack of communications by your leadership, both yourself and your deputy. And the reason it pains me is because as we are all trying to do our darndest, and it's clear to me you are doing your darndest, just like everybody else, for me to not have a level of confidence that I know what's going on in programs that are dear to me, both with regard to the development of it as well as oversight, like when you explain to me, oh, the vendor is not doing a good job with the COVID death benefits, not good enough for me. That's an oversight problem. So I'm just saying that you guys need to figure out how you could do a better job. It is not enough to just be sending us emails, coming to the city council. I felt bad for the commission the other day when they came because they're lobbying for bills that we don't even know what's going on with it, the status. If it's dead behind the scenes, find out. Don't set them up for failure. So all I'm just saying is it's clear to me you are doing everything possible, but I think you guys need to do a better job with regard to communicating it to the council members who care about your success, because we want to help you move along. So I just wanted to make a comment on that because, you know, again, we're going into our last 3 years now for those of us who came in with Mayor Blangiardi. And by this time, things should be smoother, not we don't know what's going on, right? And so just as an example, when I asked you guys, I asked everybody, oh, what is your overall comparison, 26 to 27, and then the percentage? You guys just gave me the handout and said, oh, it's right there. It doesn't work like that. Say it. How difficult is it for me to ask you what the fiscal 27 and 26 budget is? So I just want to express my frustrations. I look forward to working, guys, with the budgetary process, but I think you guys need to figure out how you're going to convey what is going on there. And if you need to ramp up your public information officer, Jen Bonisa at the ENV has been a blessing. She has helped with overall strategic communications for the department for very difficult projects, including the increase in sewer fees, yeah? So all I'm just saying is it doesn't have to just be you guys, but I should not have to be calling people in because I'm interested in what's going on, including the community liaisons. That's all. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina, and I take your words to heart. You will be seeing more of me and my team, and we really hope to make sure that you can understand everything we're doing, why we're doing it. We're excited that the commission will be bringing forward a new strategic plan in May, and we look forward to working with you all on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Asselby. I had a quick, hopefully it's a quick question. You mentioned on here you had the salaries, and you did mention that part of it is for OER, part of it for the HFO. I was wondering about your vacancy. The vacancy report shows that there are 18 vacancies in OER, with 16 of them showing an annotation that says currently filled via CSC pending reorg. Can you explain or expound on what that means?
Yes, so the Office of Economic Development, which is from where OER was originated, had 5 positions, 5.5 positions. Today, our official FTE count, I think, is 20? 21. However, we do not have civil service positions in our office, so all of our positions are filled by contract, and so that is what that reflects. Our 2 vacancies are unfortunately one position that is a managing director's office position due to a budget error with Budget and Fiscal Services was moved to our office. It is actually an MDO position. It is not our position, and it is currently vacant. And the vacant position, the other vacant position is our data strategist, which is being TA'd by our data specialist, and that is the position that we couldn't fill because Budget and Fiscal Services and the mayor's priorities asked us to eliminate that position. So those are our 2 vacant positions according to the budget slide.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Members, going on to round 2. Okay, Chair Waters, I'll go back to you for round 1.
Or you can count me as round 2, that's fine. I skipped round 1.
Thank you, Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Director. Hey, I'm just looking at the charter, right? The Office of Economic Revitalization was created via Charter Section 6-109. It says the Executive for Economic Revitalization with the necessary staff shall, A, oversee, coordinate, and direct the city's economic response and recovery from economic disruptions and align with state and federal agencies during these events to capture funding, leverage efforts, and execute response programs. You know, we're hearing a lot about the war with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz being blocked, which eventually will trickle down to our gas prices going up. So I'm curious if you or your department has considered this and taking any actions to try to mitigate this economic disruption.
Yes, sir. I think first and foremost was the impact of tariffs and the recent changes due to the Supreme Court ruling and how businesses might be able to take advantage of getting some kind of refund through their wholesaler. And so we sent out an email to our list of over 10,000 businesses on how they might go about that. Small businesses, I am a small business owner myself with my husband, have been struggling. We are well aware of that. And so
are you talking about the tariffs? The tariffs that were imposed and now the Supreme Court set aside and may owe refunds, is that what you're talking about?
Correct,
Okay.
right. And so there are some helpful instructions in terms of what small businesses can do today. They can't go and get the refund themselves, but in terms of the folks that they import, whatever it may be, could be green coffee beans, or it could be, you know, plastic for some kind of manufacturing or something. So small businesses were advised to work with their importers, try to categorize. You have to go through and identify the timing, the date, the cost of each shipment, what was in that, and then they should be able to recoup, if those wholesalers are able to recoup the tariff prices that were paid on top of the regular price of goods. So that's a first.
Yeah. Oh, good. So you're saying your office is working with small businesses to try to recoup some of the tariffs that were paid? Yes? Okay. It also says, according to the charter, oversee, coordinate, and direct communications and coordination with federal, state, and other entities for the purpose of identifying, applying for, administering, and managing funds for the purpose of economic revitalization. Can you update us on what your office has done in identifying, applying for, administering, and managing funds from other entities?
Yeah, I think, well, our primary advancement recently has been working with our grants contractor so that all of our program managers are trained, proficient, and even gaining expertise, not only with the process, but with the individuals that work in the different federal agencies who they need to stay in touch with on a day-to-day basis to understand what's coming up, and especially now what's been canceled, what won't, you know, have a no-fo coming out, et cetera. We have a good working relationship with Keoki Noji, who's the head of the U.S. Economic Development Administration, which is the primary funder of all economic development programs run through the federal government. And those are all competitive. So we want to stay in touch across all the counties and the state on who's applying for what there. So we work closely with everyone from HTDC. We helped coordinate and work with them on their new strategic plan. We work with the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. who got the support and approval of all of the offices of economic development across the counties to establish a new economic development district. And that economic development district, although the board has not been started yet by the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development under OPSD, will unlock access to all of our counties in the state to potentially an additional 70% of the EDA funding. So that will really help serve as a mechanism to help coordinate activities around the comprehensive economic development strategy, which has been our primary economic development strategy that we've fallen under because it is what we have to point to when we apply for federal funds. More practical day-to-day coordination includes us sitting on their committees, whether it's like choosing accelerators for funding that they're doing, so it aligns with the work that we're doing at the very basic level of business incubation, as well as we're executing technical assistance for the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation for those small business loans. So we do work in close coordination with both the state entity, DBET, and there are many, many agencies under them, as well as our neighbor island counties' offices of economic development.
Thank you. But what it says here is that under the charter, you're supposed to identify, comma, apply for, comma, administer and manage. So have you applied for any funds since, let's just say in the last 2 years?
So all of the funds I listed earlier and in the slide have been a part of what our team has applied for and received in terms of competitive, both federal and private funding, including the 1.5 positions in our office. Those were competitive federal awards.
Okay, that's great news. And then also in the charter, you're to prepare a 5-year strategic plan that will include recommended strategies for the city to engage in equitable and sustainable economic advancement. I see a yearly plan, but I don't see a 5-year plan.
Thanks for bringing that up. And that was a recommendation in the audit, and I appreciate a good audit, I hope, as well as everyone does. And so our commission, which is charged with that responsibility to create the strategic plan for the Office of Economic Revitalization, is halfway through that work, and we hope to be able to share with the council, the mayor, and everyone what that looks like in May, and have annual reporting, not just here's what we're doing, this and that, but metrics that we're held accountable to, both at the community and business level.
That's good news as well. And lastly, my office I introduced Bill 35 from last year in March at the request of the administration. We also introduced the committee draft to amend parts of the bill, but OER and or DHLM were supposed to be working on a new version, but we still haven't heard anything from either of you. Is that forthcoming, or are you punting that to DHLM?
So DHLM was the lead agency in drafting Bill 35. We provided our comments after the CD1 was submitted. We met with you and your staff on our comments and concerns, so we appreciate your openness and willing to discuss next steps on that. We provided our written changes to the Department of Housing and Land Management, once was DLM, now DHLM. And so we hope that CD2 can be introduced, but I understand a hearing has not been scheduled. So we look forward to that possibility. As Councilmember Tupola emphasized, this is a priority of our commission. So not only are they activated, and businesses and nonprofits who would like to take advantage of economic and community development in our vacant city spaces, but we are ready to have further discussions and look forward to that opportunity.
Okay, so you think DHLM has a CD2, they just haven't communicated that to any of us, right?
I don't know, I can't. Okay. I will have to check in with them and we can let you know.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Members, any further questions for the director? Oh, Councilmember Topola.
I'll be brief. Based on what Chair Waters said, one of the important things to note is that commissioners are volunteer. They're not paid. So there should be some line item somewhere in the budget that suggests that you guys are going to pay somewhere a consultant to do something, because even with just choosing the police chief, right? The police commission had to hire somebody because they don't have time to do focus groups, get information from all of us, from all the police officers. So I think for a 5-year strategic plan, which is hefty, and you're very lucky, you have a commission that's very, very capable, very smart. And we understand that, but also we're only utilizing the time that they have as commissioners. So are you guys going to be RFPing that out?
I get what you're talking about. We do have a facilitator who is managing the strategic plan process with our commission.
Is that a secretary, or who is this person? Is that a hired person? Are they?
It's a consultant, yes,
Oh, okay.
a professional consultant.
And then when are they supposed to come up with the strategic plan? What is the time frame that they were given?
It looks like about May, we should have that plan ready for the city council and the mayor.
And then when did that process start for this strategic plan building?
In January.
Of this year?
Correct.
Oh, are they going to meet with any of us, or is it just going to be something they suggest and then you guys show it to us later?
The consultant?
Yes.
Yeah, so the consultant has been working with the commission and with our team and with the outside connections of our commission. It's my understanding.
Okay, I'm just suggesting that, I mean, you guys are supposed to be a policy advising body. So one of the things that actually other consultants have done for commissions is met with us just to get the lay of the land, ideas. I can't imagine that the commissioners and all your outside external people know about bills moving around, things that are happening. So if they don't meet with us, it is what it is. But I would say that probably a more successful strategic plan should take parts of what policy pieces are moving forward that have any economic influence or impact to kind of determine what they would suggest moving forward.
Got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Okay, I don't think we have any second round questions. Thank you so much, Director Asselby. I do want to recognize, because you did mention the Hawaii Film Office, that with us we do have the Senior Film Industry Development Specialist, Walea Constantinao. Members, do we have any questions for HFO since she's sitting here? No. Okay, thank you so much. And members,
Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. We're going to be moving on to the last slide here from the Neighborhood Commission Office. I do want to make note that after this, and thank you for those of you who have been sitting here in the chamber with us, we will be taking a break after this. Are you guys good for 30 minutes, 45 minutes? I'm going to get a feel from you guys. When you think about it, I'm going to come back to you, Councilmember Kia'aina. So after NCO, I'm going to take a break, and maybe in that time you can let me know if 30 or 45 minutes is what you prefer. And I just want to let those know who have been sitting here in the chamber, so that after that time we will resume on the agenda. But thank you so much for being with us, Lloyd. To turn the time over to you now at this time. Oh, we do have Yonanaka, the Executive Secretary from the NCO.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chair and council members. Glad to be here. Lloyd Yoninaka, Executive Secretary for the Neighborhood Commission Office. And before I get into our slides, I want to thank all of the council members and their staff for attending our neighborhood board meetings. I know the board members very much appreciate you being there. I also want to thank you personally for your support in the previous years. Again, it is really important for us to have a good relationship, good connection with all of you, and especially your staff. And I just want to, I know I say a lot about your staff, but my staff really appreciates you guys. So thank you. You know, our budget is, we can go through it. Our budget is actually, our budget is boring. Our boards are not. So I say that because it is a boring budget. I mean, we don't change too much year by year. Okay, I'm gonna assume that what I got is the same thing that you got up here. Our full-time positions will not change, so we'll stay at 17. Our salaries will go up a little bit by 8% or 9%, and partly because all civil servants got a increase, so we track them. So when they get a bump, we get a bump. There's also a little bit of adjustment in a couple of positions that we had to changed the allocation because they were allocated at a lower rate previously, but it wasn't a lot. Our current expenses actually will drop by 6%, which is only about $22,000. So our total budget overall will be up about 4.76%. Again, it's pretty boring because it's $66,000 total. Next. The big deal this year for us is that every odd number year we have a neighborhood board election. And this next slide will talk a little bit about that. In 25, which is our last election, we had a budget of about $181,000. This year it'll go to $225,000. So we got about a 24% increase, which is equivalent to about $43,000. Part of it is some things that we are taking from our regular budget and trying to use the election year in terms of communication to the board members. The other thing is that, especially in this time, I think we all understand trying to figure out a budget and the world situation, the economic situation is not set. So we're guessing a little bit, but we're guessing we're going to have an increase in the cost of running the election, specifically in stuff like paper and printing costs. Anytime you deal with products that are coming from the outside, you always assume that there's going to be a little bit of a bump. So we're just assuming that. We're also assuming we're going to do a little more mailings. And mailings is a big cost of our budget when it comes to elections because we mail to, potentially we could mail to nearly 500,000 people. But in the past, we've mailed to about 180,000. And if you have a question about that, I can explain why there's a difference. But basically, that covers our budget. And that's, as I said, we're pretty vanilla, we're pretty boring. It doesn't change much year to year, except when we have an election. At this point, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Executive Secretary Yonenaka. Members, we are going to start, I believe it was, okay, Councilmember Kiaina, we'll start with you.
Thank you, since I skipped last time. Thank you for all that you guys do. You know, you talk about our staff. Each of your staff have to go to all the neighborhood board meetings. You know, it's difficult, yeah? And it's difficult. So I greatly appreciate what they do to come to our neighborhood boards and then deal with the lively discussion on occasion. With regard to the elections, I know for my boards, very, very active, and I do feel that there could be improvement with regard to outreach on the number of people who vote. So first, I want to better understand what the current budget, the 25,000 takes into account. I know we discussed this. Is this about 180,000 people that you're mailing to?
Yeah, that's an approximate. And maybe I can explain it this way, is to understand. If there is an election and it's uncontested,
yeah,
like everybody, there's 8 seats and there's only 8 people running, we do not mail to that area.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's the difference.
Sure, but times are changing. You know, for Kailua, they all come, right? But I've actually seen a significant change in the membership, the old timers as well as newcomers, all ages and ethnicities. So it's a very healthy process, but I think that you're going to get more people involved. And as a result, I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to try to increase the outreach so that we get most voters. So, like, for example, I'm contemplating trying to outreach to 20,000 more. I just want to let you guys know that, right? Because I understand you're trying to be conservative, but I think that because I do know in my district they're very active, I want to see what we could do to reach more voters. So that's one thing. Second, I want to find out about the email capacity that you have or notification or advertising, because in addition to sending in the envelopes, people are able to vote online. Is that correct? Can you explain to me voting online?
Yeah, what we do is that when we finalize the list of who would be eligible to vote, what races have a race, what seats have a race, we will mail to them. And what we mail is an envelope, and in there it explains the process of voting, and it'll probably have the same thing, 2 codes. One, and it's the code they need to go online to vote, and that's important. If I can get it down to, instead of an envelope, maybe a postcard, I would try, but we tried it and the envelope works better. But anyway, what we do is we mail them the passcodes so they can vote.
Okay, got it. And I even confessed that I could do a better job in outreaching because we all have our own email lists. And I think it would be difficult for us to charge you with trying to get everybody's emails. I think it's better for us to be sending it out. So I commit to working with your office on a template so that we could all just send it out to our email listservs.
Yeah, I appreciate any support we can get. What I probably would look at is something that we can send out, whether it's a digital file with a flyer that says, please vote.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, go to this site. And we could probably use your email list and just give you the file and say, can you send this out?
Got it. But they still have to register to get the code to vote? Or are you going to send them? When did they get the code to vote?
They get the code to vote as soon as we determine which races have a race. And at that point, everybody who's in that district gets a code.
Oh, got it, got it. Okay, thank you. That's all. But keep up the good work.
Thank you, Flor de Kia. And Councilmember Tolba, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto. Thank you, Council Chair Waters, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. One question. So I know that some boards do not utilize the online participation. I don't want to say guiltily because it's not my problem, it's their problem, but some of the boards in my district don't do that. And I know that you personally have talked to the board, gone to their meetings and told them to allow for online participation. Is that going to be reflected in the current budget, or have we always been allotting and appropriating money for all the neighborhood boards to allow for online participation?
That's actually a really, really good question. It's interesting that participating on the online version doesn't really cost a lot, because all it requires is for us to be there with a hotspot. We will run the WebEx anyway because it helps us with our notes. What is costly is the videographer at that meeting, and they're going to be there anyway. So going forward, we will videotape everybody. Everybody will have the opportunity to provide a video or a internet app web access to the meeting.
Okay, so but have we been budgeting for it in the past few years, or is it going to be an additional budgeting moving forward from this fiscal year?
There will be no additional cost because everything, we're there anyway. What it just requires us is to hit the switch and say, okay, open it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Tupola.
Great job. We appreciate you. Quick thought for one of my neighborhood boards, Kapolei. They actually have it at Kapolei Hale. Can there be a way we just lay out on a piece of paper what the layout of the room should look like? Every time I go, it's different. Most of the time, it's inconvenient, not just for people, but for the testifiers, because they put the microphone right by the door where everyone enters. I know this is like logistically minutia, but it matters because people can't participate when the room is laid out wrong. The microphone's in the wrong place, the speaker's in the wrong place, where the people sit, right where you walk in is where everyone's looking and there's no more seats. So is there any way we could fix that? I mean, Kapolei Hale is supposed to be like our place.
Point well taken. I agree. My staff is watching this right now, so they heard it, and they'll be working on it today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Vice Chair Tupola. Seeing no second round questions, I just want to thank you again for meeting with us. If there's ways that we've discussed this over the multiple years I've been here, that we can make the process easier as we go to the neighborhood board meetings. And I appreciate you taking leadership. I know that you're in a position because there is a commission and there's you and then you have staff. I also appreciate the staff that comes to my district at the neighborhood board meetings in District 8. But I look forward to seeing, hopefully, changes, continued changes. We've seen some improvements that can make the process a little bit more efficient for us as we go to the neighborhood board meetings. I want to find a fair process of getting community input, but also being efficient with all of our time. So thank you very much, Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you. You know, every time I go to a board meeting or every time I speak about the boards, I say the same thing, which is exactly what you're saying. It's about the public. It's not about the board members or the board. It's about the community coming out and having a chance to talk to all of you. So with that in mind, yes, looking forward to additional changes, improvements that we can make.
Thank you so much. Okay, members, seeing no further questions and no further discussion, we are going to take a 30-minute recess, if that is a 40.
Chair?
Yes, Councilmember
I
Kiana.
recommend 45 minutes.
Okay, 45-minute. Okay, 45-minute recess for lunch. So at 12:58, okay, we will be back here at 1:45. Thank you, recess.